This week in PlayStation, we're talking about Jim Ryan attacking Phil Spencer, just in the press, not in real life. A new PSVR 2 game from PSVR vets, and why PlayStation trophies still matter. We'll have all this and more because this is PS I Love You XOXO. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Greg. That's Janet. Barrett's on the ones and twos, and you can get this show on patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames. There you can watch us record it live, get it ad-free, and get the weekly post show. If you have no bucks to toss our way, support us on the Epic Game Store, Fortnite, Rocket League, and Rumbleverse with the creator code KindaFunny. You can get PS I Love You XOXO for free with ads and without the post show on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, Rooster Teeth, and podcast services around the globe each and every week. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Fargo Brady, Delaney Twining, Holy Crumpets, James Hastings, Casey Andrew. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are brought to you by ExpressVPN and Chime. But let's start the show with a PSN message from you. Janet, I don't even want to go to the message. What I want to say is I can't believe it. We have exorcised the demon. Blessing isn't here. We're going to get to do an entire show about trophies and no one can stop us. How do you feel?
I'm excited. I think it's been a while since we've had a one-on-one episode.
It has been. It has been.
I struggle to remember what our last one was, but I
live
am
chat. Let us know.
confident
I know you're out there. Let me just do it. I'm gonna take Casey Weinman. I see you there. You say you're ready to roll. You now got to go find out when the last time we did PS I Love You, just me and Janet.
I'm sure it was equally like chaotic about some really specific thing that only applies to you and me, but
sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be
This
fun.
is like our dream show because I was like, listen. You and I have been talking mad shit privately about OFK. We need to have this cathartic conversation live and on a camera, right? And you're like, we can do, and you're like, yeah, we'll do it on PS I Love You. I was like, yeah, but like people won't click on that. We need to get, and you're like, what if we talked about trophies for a full episode too? And I was like, Janet, this is why we're the same person. This is why we share the same mind. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I also have my little temporary tattoos lasted overnight. I have the Fingy one, and then I have the hold on,
Chicory.
Yeah.
I saw this on your Instagram
cute.
Stories.
I love this. Like, I like having this little dog here. I kind of want to keep it, but
just do it. Get a real tattoo. I got a real tattoo. It's great.
Was that your first tattoo too?
It is. Yeah.
Is it gonna? Are you planning to get any more?
Yes, 100%.
What's your next one? Is it trophy?
You know, I tweeted out about it and Instagrammed about it, but like I definitely want Ghostbusters something. And there's a children's book I read to Ben that's Slimer's on the Loose. Counting 1 to 10, Slimer's on the loose again. It's a Ghostbusters counting book, and there's art in there of Slimer popping out of the trap, and he's smiling real cute. I want that. I think, but I want to get it over here to balance it out, and then maybe I'd be done.
How was the pain?
Oh, nothing. No, there was no pain on this one, but it was very much. If you're an audio listener, I have Portillo's paw print tattooed on my left arm.
And I forgot where you I wasn't, I wasn't like I didn't. It's so funny that I put it in the same spot that your tattoo is.
Yours is higher. It's fine.
Oh yeah, it's like one, like I don't know, one part down, but that's pretty funny.
Yeah, but no, it's the way he did it very much did not hurt, and it was, I think both me and Jen were like, because Jen got a matching one, she's like, oh my god, like, well, and he was like, the tattoo artist was very clear, like, to be clear, like, you guys are getting a very light tattoo, like there's no color to it, there's no like lines and no tracing over stuff that's already been done,
and
like
it's not a super sensitive area either.
Yeah, it's a meaty ass part right there. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, Janet?
I didn't at first, but the second slap
really gotcha. That's when you're like, oh, he's got a meaty arm. I see what he's talking about.
Oh, that's what he means. Okay, yes. I'm right there.
Also, real quick, just to, I'm a man who pays his debts. Everybody understands that, right? I need, of course, to say that she's a marathon training, gameplay, and jet ski riding Janet Garcia.
Yeah, someone did mention though, like this is going to be the new intro here. But yeah, for audio listeners, it's pulling up the min-max tweet that's like, oh, like we like pull in write-ins from the community on like why they support the Patreon, and one was like, oh, I love the vlog basically, and it's a gif of me riding a jet ski, throwing up like a thumbs up, and then throwing up 2 peace signs while like drifting on Lake Minnetonka.
It's amazing. If you haven't watched that vlog, you should go watch it because it's great stuff for min-max. But we're not promoting them; we're promoting us, and of course, the PSN message from you. Cozy Bear writes into this episode of PS I Love You XOXO, which of course is PlayStation trophy themed with the exception of the OFK conversation, and says, what video game genre has the most enjoyable platinum trophy? I love this question because when I glanced it, I thought it originally was just what video game, that kind of, I'm like, oh, we've kind of talked about that before, blah, blah. I've never thought about it in terms of what genre is the best and most enjoyable platinum trophy. Janet Garcia, what do you think?
So my head went to a couple different places for this. Obviously, I was thinking of like my most played genres and quickly evaluating them, and I'm like, story stuff. That has to be no, just because I think while we're getting away from this so often, it is you have to replay the game. I think chapter selects too are a little bit of a rarity in some of these narrative-driven things. So then I thought platformers, which I think are pretty strong. However, depending on how brutal the collectathon nature of it is, that could be a mixed bag. So it might just be action adventure. But the reason that I'm wondering if it's instead platformer is I think a platformer is more likely to have an easier way to jump around the components of the game via world and level select in a way that not every action adventure game has. Of course, there is save scrubbing, but that's like my gut reaction is action adventure. I feel like usually the games are not terribly long, and yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning.
When you say action adventure, give me an example. What are you listing as an action adventure?
Like, what's funny because I want to say Uncharted, but that trophy list is hell, so I don't think
it's a longer game too, right?
And
hell, all right, well, yes, Uncharted. 1, 2,
invisible.
3, Golden Abyss, they were hell, but they figured it out for 4 and for.
But when I game. I will, well, even for 4, I feel like it's, Legacy. It's doable. Obviously, a lot of these are doable, but like it's a lot of work. And the thing with the Uncharted collectibles specifically is like they're freaking invisible little specks of
you know, like just a glimmer of light over there.
I did not like the glimmer of light. It is so small. But as soon as I beat the game, I'm like, I wonder what this trophy looks like. And I looked at it. I was like, there's no way in hell. And then I'm like, let me see if Greg has it. And then of course you did. And then it said like you like pop the trophy at like, I don't know, 3 a.m, like on some chaotic evening. I was like, this is a sick man. Like I'm not like I'm going to sleep. I can't deal with it. But that's what I'm thinking. But I don't know. My second runner up is like maybe a platformer. But what are you thinking for this?
It's hard, right? This entire episode, of course, is the definitive PlayStation trophy podcast, right? So like we're top of the show is going to be all about trophies and do they matter and stuff like that. But that gets into everything we're talking about. So like, I think so much of it is trophies are incredibly personal, right? Or you don't give a shit about them at all, right? And then whatever. But like, if you do care about them, and I again, we're going to get into it. I put this out last night and then today, the overwhelming amount of fan mail to patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, both making the case for and against why trophies still matter to you was insane. And like the yeses had it by a wide margin that they did, but the not only the amount of people who wrote in, the variety of answers as to why they cared about trophies and how they cared about trophies. I love it. I can't wait to talk about it. But to this more personal thing of like what genre has the most enjoyable platinums. Again, I'm old and I've been doing this a long time since trophies came around. I would argue, and it's going to sound crazy, Janet, so please let me defend myself before you immediately throw me out and start attacking me, all right? I would say open world action adventure. And because open world games broke the idea of what it was to do it, where you couldn't do multiple playthroughs. You couldn't do, hey, you have to have different save states. Hey, did you go don't get me wrong. We can point to a million different open world games. We're like, no, actually, there's a story thing that you could have missed, and then it fucks up your whole playthrough, yada, yada. I'm saying when it's done well and when it's done right, I feel like I'm excited when I look at a Horizon, Forbidden West, right? Which because Horizon right now, Forbidden West, like I still have it platinum, but I like the list. You've platinumed it, right? But like to think it's something like Far Cry 6, right? To think of something like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like Spider-Man. Yes.
Oh yeah, I guess I would. Yeah, I thought of that for more like an action adventure, but it is open world,
and that's why I said open world action adventure. Main seed. But that's the thing where it's like obviously that you can go a different way within the wrong way of like Valhalla. I think is just too big of an Assassin's Creed game, so I don't enjoy that platinum necessarily, right? Or any of them for that matter. All of them. Yeah, even Spider-Man, right, is a commitment. That's going to be a lot of hours. So if it was like you're prioritizing playing the game in a short period of time, and that would make it what's enjoyable to you, I get it. But one of the main things people wrote in about when I was talking about this was like, why do you enjoy a platinum trophy? Why do you enjoy trophy hunting? And so many of them came down to, of course, it's about if I am enjoying playing the game, right? The Floofy Boy wrote into patreon.com/kindafunnygames and says, for me, trophies only matter if I'm enjoying being in the world of that game enough that I want to exist in it longer. And trophies are a great way to direct me once I've completed the story on a game. I only have a few platinums so far, so they're a nice way of showing what a certain game means to me, right? Obviously, so many people wrote in saying, yeah, it's about, putting it on my digital mantle, talking about how much I like it, yada, yada. But the other thing is, like, is the gameplay great? Is the world cool? Then it's not a struggle to stay in that world. Again, there's plenty of open worlds that are great, but then the trophy list is outrageous, or aren't great and the trophy list is fine, but do you want to spend 60 hours playing this weird ass Conan game? Who knows?
Well, I guess the question is, because, you were right. As soon as you started talking about this, I was like, nah, you're crazy. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm getting back to it, because I think what is unique to, well, any game can technically do this, but I think what's unique to open world is a lot of times, especially in the modern era, the trophy list is about doing a lot of things, but not all the things to completion. I do think when you have a shorter experience, more often than not, it is about maxing it out, which maybe is more achievable given the scope of the game. But there is sometimes like a freedom that is allowed when you have just more to work with, where like Horizon's a good example, where like you don't have to do everything in that game to platinum it. You don't have to do all the side quests. You just have to do a few specific ones.
Sure.
But at the same time, like the question isn't who does it, because how is it phrased?
For the question here, from
it.
Cozy Bear, I'm scrolling back to it. It was, what video game genre has the most enjoyable platinum trophies?
Yeah, like I think they maybe might be among, like when we think of some of the best trophy lists, I think you'll see that genre pop up. But I feel like if we grab 5 random platinums from these genres, it's kind of more how I'm thinking of it. Like the likelihood of those, because I feel like the flops
That's
flop
fair.
really hard. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
But the flop, I think, again, flops because, for the most part, it usually
We
flops
said flop a lot.
flop. The flop flops because of the flopper. Because the game itself isn't good, right? Like I look at, again, trophies are incredibly personal. Platinums are especially incredibly personal, right? Over on psnprofiles.com/gameovergreggy, which you could come and look at, because I don't hide anything, like, blessing. You'll see like obviously there's a bunch of garbage in here, and we'll talk about Trophy Horn and whatever. But Far Cry 6, Ghost of Tsushima, this is just my most recent platinums and I'm skipping a whole bunch of games, but Jedi Fallen Order, right? Ratchet & Clank, Rift Apart, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Like, you can see why I'm Division 2. You can see why I'm drawn to why I'm saying this. It's because obviously that is probably my favorite genre of video game. Get lost in a world and go have a great time. But to come in here and then look through it, like, it's also the most platinums I have. So it's like chicken egg kind of thing. But for me, that's what works.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can totally see that. What genre is DJ the Ball, by the way?
That's trophy whoring, which
right?
we're going to talk about. Trust me, many people wrote in about the broken PlayStation
fits into
trophy
a genre,
system.
Though, doesn't it? Like, what's, I guess, platformer,
Crap,
right? You're
garbage
jumping,
game, shovelware,
you're jumping around. Again, another win for the platformers for best trophy list.
If you went through it,
you don't
I like how
get that
Bear's
kind of
trying to hang out at the top of my list.
else.
He's trying to insult me by showing ZJ the Ball. Do 3 scrolls down. There's Language of Love EU, Language of Love NA. Like, you know what I mean? Blind Men EU, Blind Men NA, Syrup in the Ultimate Suite EU, NA,
God.
NA. Like, I have plenty. I am not a reformed trophy whore. I am just short on time, and Blessing and Janet make fun of me.
I'm gonna save it because I think we're not done talking about Greg's trophy whoredom. So
let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Topic of the show. Like I said, we've called this one the Definitive PlayStation Trophies Podcast, and it began with Janet being like, hey, we should just talk about trophies. Again, Blessing's not here. The wet blanket at Adeoye Jr. So, like, we could get into it. We could have some fun with it. We could actually ask a bunch of questions and go for it. And so, obviously, the first trophy question, I think, is the fact that it's 2022. And then, do trophies still matter? Do PlayStation trophies still matter? This is what I presented to the audience, and we're going to take the question and go way far beyond the basic idea here. But Janet, for you at the start of the show, at the start of TOTS, do PlayStation trophies still matter in 2022?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Obviously, like you said, it's very personal. So at the end of the day, you can or you can't partake. It's whatever your preference is on how you enjoy playing your games. But I think it's been really interesting and impressive the way that PlayStation was, following Xbox and the whole idea of like achievements, trophies, and kind of the meta gaming of the game. Like, you already have the game aspect of just playing and beating it, but then it's like, what if we add this other layer of ways that you can engage in a way that has structure? I think structure is definitely a part of the appeal point of gaming for a lot of people, even if it's just like the fact that you have rules. Like the structure is what allows for like the fun to be had in gaming, and that's true across more than just video games. And I think it's been so cool how PlayStation's been able to really make that, I think, part of the identity of the platform. Obviously, you can get achievements on Xbox. You can get, you know, I think they're just still called achievements on Steam or even these other like PC launchers. Yeah, but like the idea of platinuming and trophy hunting is like so ingrained, I think, in the culture of the platform. Like that's why I started doing it. I'm like, you know, it'd be fun to just really see what this is about and try to like express my appreciation for a game I love and get to know it in a way that's different than what you get from a standard playthrough. And also to kind of, it has so many cool elements too. It's like, there's the challenge of it. There's so many use cases for why you would go after these different trophies. And I also think having a platinum, like it's a fun aspect of being on the platform. Obviously not every game does have a platinum, but it is always exciting when like these, you know, random ports or smaller games, it's like, oh, this has it kind of makes it like it is now part of the PlayStation ecosystem family on a level that is highly tied to the identity of that platform. And I think that's really exciting as well. What about you?
For sure. Oh, yeah. No, I mean,
like,
PlayStation trophies.
What if you came out here and you're like, I retire as a trophy hunter?
Well, I mean, like, that's a big part of, you know, where I'm at right now in life, right? This has been my driest trophy year by quite some thing, right? And it's something we're going to talk about, I think, as we get on with some of the questions and some of the write-ins, right? Of like, as your life changes and evolves, I think so does your relationship with the trophy system. And again, plenty of you wrote in saying, I have no relationship with the trophy system. I don't like it. We have one, I think it's from Ryan Powala-Higgins, right? Who's just like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to gaming, but we'll talk about that when we get there. I think for me personally, yeah, do trophies still matter in 2022? Of course. I think they are. And I know this is so hard and it is so easy to talk about tribalism in video games, right? Fanboy wars and how that does get spun up in a very negative way, as it should when it's like just shitting on each other for no reason, not for laughs like I do. But it is that idea of like, I do think that PlayStation trophies are, if you want to, a part of the PlayStation ecosystem that's fun to engage with. And that was one of the things people wrote in about, right? Is like, they're having a lot of good times talking to the people in the communities and, you know, making videos or using videos and stuff like that and going through and having that shared experience. And so it really is the thing is it matters as much as you want it to matter. And I think for me, it was always and is both the thing we'll see as we talk about it of a way to say, hey, I really liked this game. Then at some point it did become, oh man, this is just a game unto itself. The idea of increasing, especially when they added levels, right, and have all these different things, and like, okay, I'm doing this to move the needle there, and blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, I'm playing sugary syrup in the ultimate sweet, right? And what that's taking me 5 minutes and 22 seconds, 10 minutes, 35, 6. I forget what the thing was, and that's also not straight play time. That is me from first trophy to last trophy. Yeah, I was wasting my time for sure, but. Like, it's also that thing. Last night's a good example where last night, Jen is off doing a business trip right now. I got Ben down to sleep. I ate dinner. I had a beer and I came downstairs and I got PS I Love You and Games Daily set up. And by the end of it, I was like, I'm tired. And I want the desire to do something on my PlayStation is there. To do something on my Steam Deck is there. I'm reviewing a game on Steam right now. And it's like, the game on Steam actually requires like quick thinking and thumbs, right? And I'm like, that's not where I'm at. And then it was like, I went through my PlayStation library that I had downloaded. And I'm like, none of this is like the mindless. I just want to press buttons and feel like I'm getting some kind of XP out of it, right? And that's where these like blind men and strawberry vinegar and all these goofy things fall into me of like,
so like,
those are all...
should I be concerned then if I see those pop up? I'm like, oh, Greg is just out of it. Like,
no, it's not depression, right? It's just like, that most of those I would say usually come at, hey, I'm ending my night and I'm done playing what I've been playing. I'm not in the place to start something new. So what do I do? Probably, hey, Goldfarb just signed off Avengers. I don't want to play alone. And I don't want to hit up somebody else to play. So do you go to bed or do I, do this, you drop the 99 cents or in most cases too, codes I've redeemed or whatever and go through and clown out these trophies to feel that, like I have progressed the meta narrative of PSN Greg. You know what I mean? Which is like, right. So many people like just don't like. I've seen it go through the chat. Like they don't matter. Of course, none of this fucking matters. You know what I mean? None of what we're doing, with the exception of folding at home, where we are using our PS3s to try to cure cancer. Nothing we're doing in any of these digital ecosystems matter.
Yeah, I also do think, I'm lightly going to push back even on it being an opinion on whether or not they matter. Obviously, you don't need to care, but I think that it still matters, even if you don't care. Because I think of a world where, like, I think the internet would, like, explode if, like, tomorrow they're like, we are ending PlayStation. Like, it does matter, I think. Like, now we could argue, like, I'm excited to hear what, I think you said Ryan was the one who wrote in about, like, this being the worst thing to happen in gaming. Like, I think that's a fun,
I'm scrolling.
that's a fun conversation to have, because I can kind of anticipate what they're getting at, but at the same time, like, for better or worse, this is part of what gaming culture is across a lot of platforms, except Nintendo. But yeah, like, it does matter, and it's important to a lot of people. So I think it matters for that reason. You don't have to care about it, and yeah, sure, we can argue that, like, like I said, nothing we do in this world matters, but, like, that just gets dark and, like, weird. But yeah, I think it matters in terms of, like, the platform and what it does for the space, even if you don't really like what it's getting at, and then how it very much is just a drip feed of dopamine. But, like, that's what I was here for to begin with, so it's just another way for me to do that.
Right? Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like, yeah, like, I don't know. It's cool to see my level go up and cross to a new level of, PlayStation trophies. Like, yeah, like, is that any different,
like,
really?
I got Aloy a new shirt. Like,
exactly. Is it any different than me leveling up in Valhalla?
Put her in her different shirts and her different armor, and, like, and we see, like, that kind of thing across, so many things outside of even gaming, especially now, like, the gamification of stuff. Like, it's nice to have that feeling of completion and progression and achievement. I mean, so often, like, when we're talking about games too, like, one of the questions that I feel like I ask a lot when I'm learning about, like, a new game, like previewing something, I'm like, what does this progression system look like, right? You want to have fulfillment and satisfaction and just the right amount of challenge in that. And I think that trophy structure, like, kind of bakes that in. And then also, like, here, I had to bring out the trophy glass. People always ask me where I got this from. I think we got it from a random game store, but yeah.
Yeah, I forget. I put it out when it first came out. Mine's still I guess packed in some fucking box that Nick did. My fear is that in 2025 we get into the new studio and I go to that thing and it's just gone. And Nick's like, oh, I threw it away. I'm like, God damn it, Nick.
Oh no.
But who knows?
But yeah, I normally only drink out of it when I either get a platinum or I do something that's so intense gaming wise that I feel compelled to drink.
If there's an episode though to break that rule, it's here. We're just talking.
Yeah,
about
like
it.
Exactly. I had to. Yeah, but normally this is for platinums only and, like, very intense moments in Fortnite, basically.
I got 3 quick hits before I get into what I will give is a debate where we have Emmett Watkins Jr. squaring off against the one and only Pizza Bagel. But before we get there, the question, like I said, was asked, do PlayStation trophies still matter? Folks wrote in. Daniel said, hell yes. One of the few reasons I'll wait or buy a game on PlayStation over Xbox with Game Pass or Switch. It's stupid, but it's like saving a gaming memory for future me, which I abuse all the time on every show you've ever seen me on, where we're talking about something and I'm like, I think I played it and it's right to PSN profiles and I can look through it that way. When it comes down to, hey, let's talk about your top 10 of the year, it's right to PSN profiles and I go that way. This year is going to be bonkers because I have been using the Steam Deck and I've been using so many different Xbox even too, of playing more stuff when I get the code dramatically, because I'm so with Ben and life as it is right now, I'm just, helping run the company has been so crazy that I'm like, I no longer have the old days of, oh, you won't get the PlayStation code till Friday and it's Monday. I'll wait till Friday. Now it's like, I'll take the Steam code, I'll take the Xbox code, and I will play, and I will, like, Escape Academy, which I would have loved to have platinum. I still have ready to platinum. Cult of the Lamb, which I loved playing, but I know I have it on PlayStation, but when will I get to it again? Who knows? Anyways, I use it that way too. And so a whole bunch of other people did too. Tari wrote in and said, no, I just don't have time to do most of the bullshit to get them. And when you do have games, and when you have games that give platinums with no effort, it just devalues the whole idea. And again, that's a whole conversation and undercurrent thread that we will talk about when we're talking about Blind Men and Strawberry Vinegar, but I digress for right now.
Finally.
Alex Swank said, absolutely yes. Trophies are a good way to either make a game last longer or challenge us to do something we usually don't do. And now we will pivot. Not for the positive, but to the negative, all right? Pizza Bagel writes into patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, just like you. It's a fantastic name, just like you can. And says, do PlayStation trophies matter? No, because I believe the design philosophy of trophies has not aged with the generation. Trophy design and achievements, for that matter, have continued to emulate lists or simply decline from lists that have existed since the inception of the PS3 era. I could not name 5 games in the PS5 generation that have had a list that I would call an acceptable list with thought put into it.
Wow.
The trophy lists of modern games feel like check boxes for a number of collectibles or markers for progression of the game's story. There is a complete void of creativity in lists when it comes to things that the devs themselves actually want you to go out of your way to do and to obtain it. And I'm not talking about find 15 caches or get 10 headshots. I'm talking about things like Borderlands having a shoot make shoot face in the face in Borderlands 2, or there's always paying in Dead Space. Something the devs creatively included in the game and assigned achievement for you to obtain because they put thought into it. The last platinum I achieved was Spider-Man PS4, and the biggest trophy I remember from it are visiting Uncle Ben's grave and climbing up Avengers Tower. Those are trophies that have meaning and thought behind them. Being rewarded for exploring, getting fun tidbits for seeking them out if you are just reading a list to obtain the trophy. That is how trophies should be designed. Janet, do you think trophies have fallen off in terms of their design level?
No, I think you find moments of like highs and lows everywhere. I think sure there's plenty of like run-of-the-mill lists, but also like I think there's a place for the run-of-the-mill list. It's cool when you can just get it. Like I like that there's a spectrum of like ways to go about platinums and to get platinums. Obviously there's ones that I like never like I'm never a fan of ones that require you doing a full replay through. I just don't want to do that because I don't like doing that. But for the people that do like doing that, they probably feel like, oh great, I want to play this again anyway, and this like incentivizes me. But that being said, like I feel like most trophy lists do have what this person's asking for in terms of like 1 or 2 like funky, more thoughtful, more like intriguing like aspects. Even like Escape Academy as an example, like it has a trophy that's playing a certain song on the piano, which is like something you'd never do unless you walked up to video game pianos and always played like a set list of common songs and you happen to have that pop. But yeah, I think there's a place for both, because on one hand I can make the argument that trophy is, a silly / bad one because no one would naturally do that. On the other hand, it's like, oh no, that can be cool because it's a creative use of the game space. And I think there's room for both of those. And if anything, I think trophies have like to a degree, unless you're looking just for just challenge, I think to a degree have been getting progressively better in being more achievable for a wider range of players, in like doing away with difficulty trophies being like one of the biggest highlights and positive changes I think that's come to trophies in the last few generations.
And that's one of those things where I think you get into the disconnect / personal nature of what all this is. Personally, for me, I don't agree with Pizza Bagel in terms of trophies have fallen off and they, are like, yes, I do think that trophies are more checklisty than ever, but I also think that is serving games in a certain way where it's like, I'm with you. I hate the multiple difficulty things like that. That is always a non-starter for me. Especially, with the rare exception of like, Uncharted. I played Uncharted and then I played on Crushing again. Barrett update OBS. And then, there's probably a couple other ones too, but usually that's the thing. If I see it and it's like, well, I'm not platinuming this game. I'm not even gonna put the time into it because I rarely replay stuff because I don't enjoy replaying games for the most part. Like it's very rare that I get back into it. And so I don't mind the fact that trophy lists have moved into, well, do this, to your Horizon. Like there's a good difference between like Horizon Forbidden West, which like you said, you don't have to do everything. And then Far Cry 6, which was like, do everything. Like you got to do, but again, it comes down to, are you enjoying the gameplay? Is it motivating you to do it? But then it also can, for me personally, another one is like, I remember playing, and this isn't a trophy, but I guess it eventually was, right? Dead Rising on Xbox, right? Was my first game that I got kind of obsessed with the achievements for. And it was, the zombie genocider trophy. I forget how many you had to kill and like walk this amount of time, walk this many steps on zombie heads. And it was like, oh, cool. I didn't do this in the game. This is fun to try. There's a flip of that, right? Where it is, hey, you're playing this seemingly open game or game that gives you choice in what weapons to use. And now to get the platinum, you need to play the game this certain way with this certain thing. And you have like a great one is Outriders, which is a game. When it arrived, we all jumped in. We all played for 2 weeks, it felt like, and had a great time with, and it was fantastic. And I was like, I want to platinum this game. And I'm down to, I think, the last 2 trophies on it. And it's like, okay, cool. Now what I have to do is go use these powers that I never used in the 30 hours I played the game and just go grind to go do it. And it's like, oh man, like, no, like I've had my fun with Outriders. I don't want to put in an additional whatever hours of sitting there spinning around in like, the monster closet to kill this many things to do it. Like there's definitely a time in my life where I would have just done it and whatever, but now it is that thing of time is so limited that like my free time, I want to move on to the next game. And so something like that sucks for me of like, oh, well, you could argue, well, it's making you, or it's encouraging you to use the different abilities to go do it. Sure. But in a game where it's like play your way, the trophies should be, you're going to earn them your way as well.
Yeah, well, I think it depends, because I feel like the Deathloop trophy list is a pretty compelling one that also pushes you to do that, but it's less grindy is the thing. Like,
and the Deathloop one, I would argue too, the Deathloop one feels like the way, because of how that game is played, feels like challenge rooms. It honestly feels like, if you remember, Barrett, this one's for you. You remember Batman Arkham Asylum where you'd go do it, but then you had the challenge rooms to go fight things specifically, right? Like I hated those experiences being broken up. Deathloop kind of shoves them together via the trophy list of like, cool, now go do this way with that thing. And I'm like, oh, that's a cool way to do it if I want to play more Deathloop because I love Deathloop. It's not it might have been, I shouldn't speak out of turn, but I don't think it's get 100 kills with the gun you never used because you didn't like that gun. No,
it's much more of like the grind would only be needed if you need to get better at the skills you need to do the thing. While the Outriders one sounds more like there's an inherent time commitment because it wants you to do a certain thing in a certain way, and you need to have like a certain like level or amount of time spent in order for that to be like achievable. Versus like Deathloop was, I mean, if you're good, you could do that right now. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm afraid to find out, and I never got the platinum because I didn't want to face the truth, which is that maybe I'm not really that good at the game.
Sure.
I'd like to go back though because I think I feel like it was kind of encouraging me to be the player I tried to be anyway. But they're like, okay, but now you got to do it for real, and I'm like, maybe not.
You prefer, it's a power fantasy, right? Like I don't need to be reminded that I'm not actually the thing I felt like I felt, right?
So,
yeah. And again, it's back to I shouldn't say again. This week I've talked about Cyberpunk 2077, right? Because of the patch and all that jazz, and also my memory of that game is platinuming it, and I think that brought about some of the flaws with it in terms of like, wow, I'm so ungodly leveled compared to everybody now as I go through and do this, third house in a row tonight of going through and clearing everybody out, yada yada yada. But that was a problem with it. It was still that the gameplay and doing it was fun. Like I enjoyed that platinum trophy, even when it glitched out on me and it looked like I wasn't going to get it until they patched it.
I remember it breaking you. I remember that platinum breaking you as a person.
That platinum broke. And if you remember, I was like, hey, Sarah, it's either going to get fixed or I just had a lot of fun with the game and it doesn't matter. The platinum that broke me, of course, was X-Men Wolverine Origins back on PS3 that I reviewed, where I beat it and I loved that game. Loved it in the way you love a B movie or whatever. Like the story sucked, but it was fun to be Wolverine and fun to go down the claws. And I was like, I'm definitely platinum this. And then at the end, it had like one of the most confusing screens of all time of just like, you've completed the game. Do you want to do it again on a new save? And I was like, yes. And that deleted your old save. And I was like, fuck. And that's, if you remember, the IGN story goes that I got so mad I slammed my desk, which was connected to Ryan Clemence's desk, which skipped his game, and he was playing some Japanese RPG on PS2. It skipped his disc and he lost a whole bunch of progress. So it was like this chain event of me ruining other people's lives too because I was ruined.
Oh my god, another L for physical media. We just really can't catch a break here. It's like
don't miss it at all.
I got my Splatoon case arriving tomorrow from Best Buy, so
just the case, huh?
Yeah, just the case. There's no game inside, but.
Emmett Watkins Jr. writes in defense of PlayStation trophies and says, trophies do matter, just not by themselves. Now that I can afford to play on PC, Xbox, etc. as well, I collect these rewards to be able to show my love for a game, similar to how a high playtime shows the same thing. But unlike a high playtime, there's a story to the journey of a platinum/100% that makes the memory of the game more special. For example, I put in 440 hours into Modern Warfare 2 on PS3, but I couldn't tell you a specific memory about that game, just aspects of the game that kept me playing. But my 152 hours in Skyrim come with my journey of trying to get married in the game, only for a bug to take my wife, disappear right after only for a bug to make my wife disappear right after the ceremony, or me coming back to the game 5 years later to join the Thief's Guild and clean up the platinum. That's a really interesting way to put it, that I think is really fascinating, where it is like, I kind of feel not exactly the same, but similar in the way of like, in my 900 hours plus of DC Universe Online, right? Like, sure, there's plenty of you mustn't get in the way of our plans for the Flash, like stupid shit like that. Like I can recite to this day or whatever. But it is the idea of like, building out the characters at the launch to make sure I was going to get on the right way for the trophies, to then go, there's no way I'll get this, to then committing to going for the platinum and then popping it and then popping it again on PS4. Like, there is a memory distinctly connected to that of both of what I think Emmett's talking about, the story behind it, and then the fact that that's a game I want to put on a pedestal. Like, I love this game, and that's why I want the platinum for it.
Yeah, I think too, like with the idea of stories being tied to platinums, like personal stories, I think obviously there's an inherent intention when you beat a game because you had to like go through all the steps. But I think what's unique about the platinum is it's so much more like, and this is like what I like about it, it's like a nerdy, dumb, extra ass thing to do with your game, but like it's also just so fun to like sit there and kind of, there's like the planning it out of it in a way that like doesn't really happen for the main campaign. Like the closest thing I get to planning a main campaign is if I can kind of sense maybe how long it is, or if like the developer tells me and I'm like planning for content, but that's just hours. I'm like, okay, or like, hey, when I got here, okay, this is I'm on a good pace or something. That's not really that exciting. It's just scheduling time versus like the platinum. It's like, you might think, sometimes when I start a game, I'm like, I want to try to platinum it. Let me look at the list now. Then it's like the debate of like, do I want to be really efficient and like spoil some of those secret ones? Do I want to just go, double checking the missables, asking people about it, people like sharing their tips about stuff? Or like when you sit down and decide to finally like end up seeing it through and what that process looks like. And, if you end up using guides, if you don't, like there's so many angles to how you do it. Like when I did the Horizon Forbidden West one, I'm like, okay, I know I want to platinum this. It seems like fairly achievable. And then they had that one kind of missable thing near the end where you got to scan all the machines. And I was like, oh man, I guess, I really love this game, so I'm going to figure it out. Maybe I can reload an old save or just play it on easy and get to the end. And then they fixed that before I even finished. So I was like, great, this saved me a lot of time. And then I went to play and like, I just spent my time hanging out in that world, honestly. And I like knew I had certain things I had to do, but I did like extra stuff as well. And like did all my own thing of clearing up the map fog, or like I really wanted, a certain kind, like one of the things is like maxing out like 3 pieces of armor. And like one of the sets I really wanted to do, because it was like the one I was legitimately using, even though like the other one, the easy thing is just to get like the lowest level set and, fill it with freaking bird tails or whatever the hell you need to like craft it. But I'm like, no, I want the one I'm using. And it requires like, of course it required like one, Apex Slither Fang heart or something like that was the hard thing. And then there was the process of like talking to my chat, like, okay, well, how do I get this to spawn? And they're like, oh, you got to go at night. And then like I kept reloading it. And then they're like, maybe just wait till you're a higher level, and they're auto like add more Apex like creatures to the game. So like I really enjoyed just figuring out, I think, that process of how you're going to go about doing it. Then there's like the co-op ones where you're like working together with someone. Like it just totally changes, I think, your approach to actually even playing the game, because it has these elements of additional layers of thoughtfulness after having like beaten the campaign or on your way to the campaign. That makes it a fun thing if you're, a fucking nerd, which I am. So I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this.
Here's what happens. Ryan Powala-Higgins in the chat just keeps making me angry. All right. Cause he's already written in with his takedown of PlayStation trophies. And then he goes, surely if people are playing games for hundreds of hours without getting a platinum trophy, it shows they are irrelevant. Play games for fun, not for an icon. Ryan, shut the fuck up. All right. And I say this with all due respect because you've been around forever and I love you, but shut the fuck up. Like, are you like, that's not the argument. The argument isn't that they're just saying, hey, let's fight for the, and somebody, Barrett, I guess, deleted this, or did Janet? Somebody just deleted
I put him in timeout.
Take it. Oh man, Ryan, we're fucking your day up. No, it's the idea of like, oh, well, yeah, like, yes, like my 900 hours in DC Universe Online was not because of the platinum. I got the platinum long before I got 900 hours. And it's just another way of like, man, it's something else to do in this game. I would have killed for this stuff. I always talk about when I was growing up and playing games and not being able to afford them any games. Like that's again where a platinum that is go do a million things, go do the stuff, whatever, is so huge. I always talk about like, infamously me failing to get the platinum in Metal Gear Solid 5, not because of not because I'm bad at the game, right? But it was the idea that I tried to do it on the stream, but I had way too much to do. And then afterwards it was like, all right, well now go S rank all these missions. And I was like, oh, well, that just doesn't sound like fun. I don't want to do that. Throwing that out, putting that out there, like that's where I am and what I am and how I value my time. I always say, right, on PS2, I platinumed Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberties. And Sons of Liberty. Of course, I didn't actually platinum it, but I remember when I went through and got all the photos, and when I beat Solidus on extra hard, whatever the fuck it was called, with the katana, and I remember like my Poe playing it way late and calling me at college and asking me a question, and I was like, I was able to shut my eyes and walk him through the level, and at one point go, wait, which difficulty are you playing on? Because it meant how many guards and where they'd be and shit like that. Like I knew that game and I platinumed that game, and I wish that I wish trophies went back to PS2, and I wish that on my thing it said Metal Gear Solid 2, and you could argue, of course, well, go do it now, and we're back to no, like I don't want to replay the game that way because I don't have the time I had in college to sit there between classes looking for dog tags or doing whatever. Like this is all about celebrating games and PlayStation games the way you want to, and so yeah, totally ignore it if you want and don't get hung up on it, but to come out and be like the trophies are irrelevant because you're playing the hour count, it makes trophies irrelevant. That makes me mad, Ryan. But
I think too, I think too, the idea, like, his initial argument of if you can beat a game and or spend a lot of hours and not platinum it, that makes them irrelevant. To me, it's the opposite. Like one of the appeal points, certainly I don't mind a game where I do a thorough playthrough and I automatically pop the platinum because I'm like, cool, free platinum.
Of course, yeah.
Or easy platinum, like that can be fun too. But one of the appeal points is that it gives you incentive to do additional things that you wouldn't have done otherwise. At least when they're like, I think at their peak. So yeah, that's kind of the whole point of them. I mean, there's different ways to sort of be like gamified, I think, within that system that are fun and fine just from like inherently collecting more trophies. But the platinum itself, like it has a level of intention, and like the appeal is that intention. Other people in the chat pointing out like, well, it's not as relevant because we have so many games to play now. Like, sure, you have like more stuff to play, so you don't need to squeeze as much juice out of the orange as you did when you were a kid necessarily. But one, that's also like there's different kinds of players as well. Like just because you have a lot of games doesn't mean that you're going to be playing all the games. And I think too, it's where your interests lie, right? Like there are so many times that I feel like, I've talked, or any of us have talked on the show about like, we could be playing this new thing or finishing this thing, but instead, like, I just want to go back to this other thing. And I think the platinum allows for you to like go back in a way that feels unique or special. And you get to have like that additional dopamine again, I think, of completing something because you get the platinum on a certain platform for that game. While like rolling credits is still fun, like for a replay, but it hits different when you get that like platinum trophy. At least for me, it does. And I'm also curious to know like people who don't care about platinums, like have they gotten platinums and how many have they gotten? Because I do think it's one of those things where once you, kind of like the tattoos, right? Once you get one, you want more of them. Because not that I thought they were like dumb necessarily, but I just never was interested. Like I just am not really a completionist player. And I still feel like I'm not generally a completionist. But what I like about being in the platinum culture now is looking at
the
games
culture,
that I'm really
the streets,
excited about.
these platinum
yeah,
streets.
Like, me and my little, I only have like fucking 8 platinums, but I'm like, I get to parse out like what do I want to do and then decide also what kind of player do I want to be. Do I want to be, it's like we need like the alignment chart for platinums. There's like chaotic evil, that's like Greg, he's out here just fucking downloading garbage, and just if you could buy him on the streets, he'd be like out here fucking doing crazy shit, right? And then there's like, I don't know if Blessing's like true neutral or neutral good or something, because he does get a couple and we did our competition and stuff. But yeah, like I'm not sure where I'd fall on that because, I'm going to let y'all do that on the internet and make that alignment chart for the platinums. But my current style is games I love, I want the platinum for that. So sometimes even like there's some games where I'm like, oh, isn't the platinums that hard? But then I'm like, do I want you on the shelf with these other games? I don't know if I want to like have it like that. So again, not above doing it for like an easier platinum. I'm still thinking about getting, which I did like the game, but what's that game that both of us played? It's like the Mothman or some shit.
Oh yeah, Mothman 1969.
1966, who could forget, man? 1966, what a year. Except it doesn't take place in the 60s, I don't think. I think it's like the 90s or the 80s. It's the 60s? I thought it was like the 80s. Okay, I guess. Well,
maybe. No, I thought it was very like sock hoppy that they were in the thing doing.
Oh yeah, I guess there was the 60s. Yeah, 1966. What a year. I like that game.
Then they got that one randomized bullshit fucking blackjack game. Or solitaire.
Yeah, I like that game though. Like I do like that game.
But do you have the trophy for it though, Janet? Do you have the trophy for it?
No, because I
don't give me randomized bullshit trophies. Like
I have a couple good video clips though of me. But like, imagine how sweet it'll be if I get it though. That's the thing. But like again, I'm sitting at 71.
It's the back and fucking forth of these things, man. Of like, yeah, it would be like such a relief and so sweet to get that. But that goes back to like, I remember I don't think it was that I wanted to platinum Freedom Wars. I think it was that I was just did Freedom Wars didn't predate trophies? No. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. It wasn't that I was gonna maybe I was on the way. I think I had the inkling that I wanted to platinum Freedom Wars, but then it was like, yeah, well, you need to upgrade your shit to whatever. I was like, all right, cool. And then you get to a point where it's like, well, now you go and fight this monster, and 1 out of 17 times he'll drop the one feather that you need 5 of. And I'm like, well, fuck this. Like, I'm not doing that shit. Like, that's horrible. Nobody wants to do that. It's like, I think there's such a great Ryan Powala-Higgins has come out of timeout and says, fuck trophies, and then change it to screw trophies. When we see you, we'll give you the floor. I'm going to take a sip. Actually, you know what? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a fantastic show. We're having a lot of fun here. I'm so glad Blessing got bit by that snake and fell into a pothole. But while he cleans up the slushy he dropped in his car, let me remind you about patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Patreon.com/kindafunnygames keeps the mics and lights on. You can go there, of course, to write in to be part of the show. You can watch us record it live, just like Ryan Powala-Higgins is. And of course, you can get the post show we do each and every episode. But like I said, it gets you the show ad-free. And speaking of ads, Greg Way, here's a word from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Using the internet without ExpressVPN is like checking in your baggage at the airport without a lock. You don't know who's looking through all your stuff, finding all of your Nintendo Switches, your PlayStation Vitas, or all the other things that you're hiding in there. When you go online without a VPN, internet service providers, ISPs, can see every single website you visit. They can legally sell this information without your consent. Nobody wants that. That sounds like a bad time for everybody. You can browse more anonymously. It's easy to use and it works on all devices. I love ExpressVPN. It is super simple to use. I feel safe across all of my devices, knowing that whether I'm on my desktop or my mobile phone, people aren't getting in there. I'm safe on the internet, and what I look at, what I browse, that's mine. That's for me to know. Secure your online activity by visiting expressvpn.com/kindafunny today. That's expressvpn.com/kindafunny. And you can get an extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/kindafunny. Next up, shout out to Chime. Like a cool breeze, Chime is a refreshing way to handle your money. There's no monthly fees, no maintenance fees, and no minimum balance fees. So it's how banking should be done. And when you need access to your money, you can do so fee-free at more than 60,000 in-network ATMs at many locations like most Walgreens or 7-Elevens. You can also send money to anyone, even if they aren't on Chime, fee-free for you and no cash-out fees for them. Chime, no monthly fees, no vibe-killing fees. Sign up for a Chime checking account. It only takes 2 minutes and it doesn't affect your credit score. You can get started at chime.com/KFgames. That's chime.com/KFgames. Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by and debit card issued by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank NA. Members FDIC. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees apply except at MoneyPass ATM in a 7-Eleven location and at all Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Other fees such as third-party and cash deposit fees may apply. Chime.com/KFgames.
It doesn't help you live viewers because, of course, you still had to watch me drink the water, but people come back now. They don't know how to drink water. It's great. We will now give the floor.
Cool Greg will leave that in.
I know we will.
Yeah.
We will now give the floor to the grumpiest old man on his porch today. All right. Just imagine, close your eyes, everybody. It's Clint Eastwood, Gran Turismo, right? He's sitting there drinking his coffee. He's angry. Ryan Powala-Higgins writes into patreon.com/kindafunnygames and says, and I know it's Torino, it was a joke. Nobody called me on it. So I want to make sure that comments don't eat me alive. Gran Turismo PlayStation game. I digress. Oh shit. I forgot too, Janet. Do I have a fucking scoop for you? All right.
Oh my God.
You want me to tell you this? Ryan, we'll get to your fucking bullshit topic in a second. Don't worry about it.
I'm kind of scared though, also.
This is pretty amazing in terms of timing. A person wrote in to me today claiming that they got to see, and like they were in like one of those television test groups and they got to watch the first episode of Twisted Metal. So they wrote in with their review and recap for us.
Oh my God.
We have an exclusive.
Did they sign an NDA for that though?
They did, but they said because they didn't give us their name, they don't worry about it. So I'm like, whatever.
Okay. I'm excited to hear
I'm
this.
just reporting the news here. I'm Jason Schreier of Twisted Metal. All right. Don't worry about it.
The people are fucking opening the CMS right now, Greg. I'm telling you right now. This is going to launch like a lot of articles.
Ryan Powala-Higgins writes in to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, just like you can, and says, this has been a long time coming. You can't silence me now, Miller. I know for sure I'm in the minority with this opinion, but I think trophies or any other kind of achievements are one of the worst things that have been introduced into modern gaming. I've watched people force themselves to keep playing a game not because they are enjoying it, but because they have an obsession with getting the platinum trophy. Watching people grind and do monotonous tasks, all in the pursuit of an icon, which has no meaning, just seems to take all the fun out of gaming. And your lasting memory of playing a game is completing boring tasks, which is unnecessary. Before trophies existed, if you finished a game, you finished it. It didn't matter if you didn't complete certain tasks. If you started the game and saw the credits, you completed it. Now, there are different levels of completion, and if you didn't get a specific trophy, you haven't done enough. I think people should play games how they want to play them, not specific ways to obtain trophies. Then, of course, everything that's happened in the chat has happened, but earlier he also said this: digital is one of the other worst things about modern gaming also.
Another L for physical media.
God damn, Ryan.
I like physical media, and I will keep my disk drive until they cut it out of my PS5, okay? What's the last thing I was in there? I don't know, probably some fucking Grey's Anatomy disc or some bullshit, some How Much Your Mother or some concert, but I like having it. I will say, the biggest flaw probably in the comment is, Ryan just says, have a head out. Thank you for being here, Ryan. I appreciate your work. The biggest flaw, I think, is the idea or the implication that trophies force you to play a different way. Like, you don't have to do it. So I think it skirts that flaw of like, play how you want. Yeah, sure. I will say here's the thing. Nothing was fully wrong, but you're looking at it from too much of a negative angle. Like, this is here for like, it's like, why would you want to do this? You're out here doing, like, and again, different trophy lists have different things. There definitely are some grindy ones. There are some, die a certain time in a certain way, and you're just doing it just for like the digital thing on your mantle, which is also digital, which is also not real. However, that is so exciting for sick fucks like me. Here's the thing. That's the thing. The fun. They're like, how are you having fun with this? You're just doing it. The fun is getting the thing. Like, I want the thing. And the journey might have its, ups and downs to getting that thing, but that is the fun of it. The fun is the completion.
How many games have I played where I grind for a trophy that I'm enjoying? Grinding isn't right, because of what I'm doing in the game I'm playing, and I'm thinking specifically, Barrett, help me. I believe it was like Assassin's Creed 2 that had the hidden armors that you'd have to go get, and you had to do a bunch of stuff to get them.
And Brotherhood had both of the hidden.
And it was fun to go get those, but I remember it's the classic video game thing of even like the concrete power at the end of infamous Second Son, where you go and you do it, and you get to the top of the mountain, you get the thing, and guess what? You're at the top of the mountain. There's nothing left to do. Why did I go get this cool power just to do that thing? That's in-game. That's not even trophy related. That's just how the story or the game played. Like, it's the same thing here. I'm just like, well, you want to grind and go get this thing that doesn't help you in the long run. Fine, whatever, but it's fun. Are you enjoying yourself? Go have some fun. I think the real question is, Ryan, who hurt you? Who hurt you? Because now there are different levels of completion. And if you didn't get a specific trophy, you haven't done enough. I call complete and utter bullshit on that, because what you're talking about is also true endings. That had nothing to do with trophies. Like, what ending did you get? Oh, fucking the guy ran away with the girl. Oh, you didn't get the true ending. You didn't do the thing. There was a choice 3 hours in that 30 hours later, totally. Like, who are your friends? Or what internet message board are you on where you're like, man, I loved Game X. Ugh, did you get the trophy at the end for kissing the frog? No, you didn't play the game.
Yeah.
You didn't play the game if you didn't kiss Mr. Toad,
If you didn't play Mary Had a Little Lamb on that Escape Academy piano, did you even escape the Academy? I don't know. That's not.
Did you get all endings in Elden Ring? No. You didn't even fucking play it.
Did you get every dog tag in Last of Us or Metal Gear?
Those fucking bears that they were looking for in space and shit? Ratchet and Clank, right?
And again, Ryan, who hurt you? Because I feel like this is such a conversation I've never, ever, ever fucking had. In a negative light, sure. Of like, I've never said, oh man, I love Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. So it's like, did you get every dog tag? Did you beat Solidus on the hardest difficulty?
I do think the Platinum Gatekeep I haven't heard as much. Not to say that hasn't happened, because this seems like you are speaking from a place where maybe you've felt like that or had those conversations. But yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of gatekeeping, and I've been told a lot of things, but no one's ever really like judged, I think, the Platinums. I think because they're so superfluous. Like, you either, I could always argue like, oh, I only have 8 because I don't give a fuck. It's like, no one's gonna care. Like, because it is a very personal thing. it kind of reminds me too of like I was talking yesterday with my family. Like Maggie was asking me about Fantasy Critic that we're doing. She's like, "Oh, what is that? Like, I didn't realize you were. What is this thing?" And I was telling her about it, and I'm just talking for like several minutes, and then I'm like, I get to the end of my story, I've explained it, and I'm like, you know, if you ever want to ask me about it, I'm happy to talk about it. Because you know, my brother's like, yeah, like he's done fantasy sports before, and he's like, there's a saying with fantasy sports, and it's like nothing's more exciting to you than your league, and less exciting to everyone else than hearing about your league, because no one gives a fuck about it. But it's like, this is my little thing, you know, I have my little trophy. It's like, yeah, again, it's worth doing because you assign or have created a joy for yourself for doing it. Can that get dark? I guess it can. Like if you end up like being so hooked that you end up feeling like, you know what, I'm not even enjoying what I'm doing here, I need to stop. Sure. But you know, people tell me that all the time, even for finishing games. Like people will be like, why did you finish this if you don't like it? I'm like, well, one, I can talk to y'all more thoroughly about the game. That's value one. And two, I just like to sometimes see it through, you know, like I get an accomplishment and a joy from having gone through that process. And like, there's an appeal in that. But again, like I'm out here fucking like, why'd I run the marathon? Like they didn't give me anything. I'm not like an
You're still going to die,
Janet. Wait, what?
Yes, you're still going to die.
Exactly.
Marathon didn't like, you know, give you 20 years.
And some people die running the marathon. You ever look at that stat? That's fucking scary. You're like, oh, how many people died last year when they ran this? You know, you see the tents, the fucking alarms going off.
I've never
people
done
are
much
dropping
research on
like
marathons.
flies. But yeah, like I think there's a joy to just accomplishing certain things, and in gaming, platinums are one of those joys. And if they ever fucking brought that shit to Nintendo, I'd be out here playing Mario 64 all over again, because they're gonna give me a fucking ribbon if I catch the hat or some bullshit. And that'd be awesome. You know, it'd be a fun way to re-engage. But yeah, anything can be toxic if you make it toxic, but also things can just be, you know, fun things to do. It's all virtual.
Ryan's
anyway.
still arguing in the chat. Ryan won't get off his soapbox. We asked him to leave, and he will not. We're trying to refund his Patreon money.
He said he was gonna leave. He's like, I'm gonna dip out because I don't want to be around.
But he does say, do people enjoy games more because of trophies, though? Is Breath of the Wild less of a game because it doesn't have them? Again, you're arguing from such an interesting perspective that I don't agree with, but I understand. But like, do people enjoy games more because of trophies? Yes. I legitimately can point you to my trophies in certain games that I played more of. Like I beat the game, I rolled credits, the story was over, but I kept playing to do it, and I got to have more fun in it. Does that enjoyment take away from Breath of the Wild's accomplishments? No. Not at all.
How good would it be if there? Because you know, it's funny because
Ocean Horn.
We're gonna have to just fucking queue up Ocean Horn again. You know, like fuck it, why not? It's actually a solid game.
Did you collect all of the Korok seeds? Didn't even play Breath of the Wild if he didn't.
Exactly.
But here's what's funny about that. I feel part of me wonders, like, I actually still haven't fucking even finished Breath of the Wild. Also, it's not a PlayStation game, but whatever. I'm like 80 hours in though, because I've just been playing really thoroughly, and I'm like, it sucks that like even if I got everything, I don't really have anything to show for it. And I know it sounds dumb to say a virtual trophy icon on my thing is my thing to show for, but it is. It's like a nice way to add that structure. I think too, like especially on PS5 where they have added like trophy tracking as like little things you can queue up. Like it's very much baked into the ecosystem in a way that's convenient and fun. So yeah, like it's also a little bit of a chicken egg thing. Like I loved Jack and Daxter forever, always played that game many times. We'll probably play that game many more times before I die, even though I ran the marathon. But like doing the platinum, it was cool. I liked doing it, and I did it on an alt account I had because I wanted a fresh, like I did it on stream, and I wanted like no trophies at all. Like I wanted to pop all the trophies, and then I did it again when I replayed it for like other content stuff on my actual account. And now I'm like, yeah, I got the Vita version. Like maybe I'll do that one. You know, why not? Like I think it does. If you like it, I get not understanding why people like it because it's like I don't get it. Like it's just another thing. But I think if you ever have felt any type of achievement or accomplishment in a game, it is the same deal. It's just for a different thing.
Isn't it the same idea of you're playing a game and there's multiple objectives? Like there's the thing for you get the whatever for clearing it, but you perfect it and you get a gold medal, right? It's just medals. It's the same thing. It's just on top of it. And Kebab says trophies can feel like more homework though. Right. So just don't do those. Like that's the disconnect, credit. I think. Extra credit. Great job, Barry. That's really good. But it's that thing of like, because I'm not the person, and I know people who are that way, and I couldn't imagine it, of you enter into a game and you start playing the game and you get enough of the trophies, you have to get the platinum. Like look at Outriders. Again, I would love to have the Outriders platinum, but I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to do it.
Look at Mothman 1966.
Fuck that goddamn randomized bullshit. However, Duncan, AKA half a dozen donuts, writes into patreon.com/kindafunny.
Another great name.
Games, another great name, and says, do trophies matter? Yes and no. I do love a good trophy list and still believe that platinums were a positive, but they cause gaming anxiety. I hate playing through a game for 30 minutes, popping one trophy, and having a game with a 2% completion. This is why I personally don't like trophies in PS1/2 classics. No trophies means I can pop in for a short period of time, see what it was like, given without nostalgia, it aged pretty poorly. The old game is old, and not have a low trophy paper trail. Again,
I do wish you could delete them.
You can
like,
delete
reset the
zeros.
game.
Remember, you can delete zeros, but you can't delete anything once you've got there. Again, I get it, but this is what's so fascinating is that we are talking about one system and what draws you to it, repels you from it. But even if you're being drawn to it, everybody has this different thing. For me, I don't care. I'm looking at my trophies right now, right? I have 0% Temtem at the top, 0% Last of Us Part 1 below it. And even those are zeros and I could delete them. And then there's a 2% Ollie Ollie World underneath, 62% OFK, 71 Rumbleverse, not all zeros. That doesn't drive me crazy. I, again, like it being, this is my history. This is my log. These are the games that I have on my profile. Again, when I want to go back.
Some of y'all don't want to face who you are. And that's what it's really about.
Look in the fucking mirror, Ryan.
Here's
all right?
the thing. Here's what's funny. And I'm obviously kind of hamming it up. But a little bit is, I think your mention of the drawing and what draws you and what repels you is really apt, because it's is that because the thing is bad or because you have, certain tendencies that maybe you feel do end up making a more negative experience? I could totally understand why someone would be I don't know. And then I feel I just got to finish it. And then I don't like finishing it. And I'm just I fucking hate this thing. It's yeah, but you have built this relationship with it based on maybe a level of compulsion that you have. And I also have had definitely things like that too. And in my gaming experiences or just in life where it's fuck it. I just feel I gotta do this, and I don't even like doing this, but I have to do it. And I wish I could just walk. There are times I think I wish I could just walk away. I think in a way, it's funny because you loved the Far Cry, was it 6, right? At this point, yeah. Platinum. I beat that game because I just wanted to beat it because I was far enough into it. And even though we already did the review too, and I didn't make it for the review to beat it. I was playing it, and then I'm okay, the review's in 2 minutes. We're not making it, But even after that, I'm so far into it. And you could argue, I could lie to myself and say, oh, well, I kind of want to see the story. And elements of me do want to see the story through. But at the end of the day, I beat that game because I felt something inside me made me want to do it. And was that a lot of fun? Not necessarily, but I'm still glad I did it because that's how fucked up I am. I've gone full circle. I've seen what's wrong with me and then embrace the darkness. And I'm you know what? I got this little, that's a different digital mantle, I think, for me, of just having seen something through and completed it and being able to have that full, okay, I fucking finished this thing. But again, that's not every game for me either, though. Days Gone, I would love to finish seeing that story without just watching it on YouTube, but I don't want to do the work. And funny enough, Isaiah's oh, should I play through Days Gone? I'm if you're playing through it, let me know, because then I get the free.
You can just sit there and watch.
Yeah, I was I would love to see you finish that. And it sounds dumb because I could fucking watch anyone in the fucking world play that game because there's a million things on YouTube and Twitch, but I'm this will be my free way to do that. There are times that clicks for me and times it doesn't, and I get that itch bothering people, but I think that's an internalized thing that you could work out of if you want to. For me, I don't feel any type of way about the few times I decide to see through Far Cry 6 because I feel that's few and far between enough that that's fine with me. But yeah, so look inward, I think, depending on how much you hate this, because it might be something to examine.
It sounds like it. Ryan's got a bunch of pent up anger about it. And he's really got to look at it. And Duncan, I get, but yeah, I like the idea of you're afraid to look yourself in the mirror of what you played and what you walked away from. But again, I don't look at a 0 or a 3% or a whatever as, man, I suck at games or I can't commit to something. It was all right. This didn't work for me. You know what I mean?
I do think more ways to I think that does speak, though, to their credit, to a demand that I think we see a lot in the community of more ways to organize and sort and cater things to the things that you like to see on your stuff. Right? We have y'all got the beef with me and redeeming these PlayStation Plus games. I'm why do I need this shit?
But that's not beef as much as we're trying to help you. We're trying to train you because you have missed games that you could have gotten for free.
Okay. I have missed some games.
I'm not saying you have to get everything,
Well, I feel like there's some people that are like, why not get everything? It's free. And I'm like, well, why do I need everything when I'm not going to play it? And it's like, it doesn't hurt to have it. And I'm like, it doesn't hurt to not have it. Like, and it's this weird thing of like, again, that's for me, part of that is the sorting of everything. Like, I don't think the organization system is set up in a nice enough way. The reason I finally decided, I'm like, you know, I think I'm just gonna fucking say fuck it and redeem everything now is because now my shit is so cluttered by having PlayStation Plus that I'm out here having like all these extra games. I'm like, I don't even know what's real anymore. It's just icons floating in space. So I will say I do sympathize with that. And I think that is a demand that we see in the community a lot of wanting more ways to sort through that information in a way that you feel like is clean cut and satisfying for you and your user experience. So there is that.
Janet,
Yes.
are you offended how easy trophies are now? This is another undercurrent I saw in the responses where people were like, oh my God, well now you can just buy ZJ the Ball. You can buy the one that is buy a platinum trophy or whatever the hell it's called. Like you can go through and just, throw money at the problem. Because back in the day, remember, My Name is Mayo was like, oh my God, it's just a clicker. That still took time. That still took you had to do certain things and figure it out. Whereas now it literally are the visual novels, which are pick one thing, fast forward, and you pop one in 30 seconds.
No, I mean, as long as you're not being too toxic with the game that you made, which I think some of the ZJs, is ZJ the Ball the weird, like, not Christian one?
Yeah.
That one gets gray for that reason, because I'm like, what the fuck's going on there? But putting that stuff aside, hey, you want to make a thing with an easy platinum, and that's like your angle as a dev, hey, there's an audience for it. That audience, to a degree, right, seems happy with getting, like, you're like, I just want fucking trophies, and I'll take the platinum, why not? For me, I was never going to play ZJ the Ball, so, like, you playing ZJ the Ball doesn't hurt me or take away from my stuff. And I think as far as like easy or not, I think it's worth examining why you care about being better than other people in terms of like the idea. I think the idea of being like, well, I want my platinum to be really hard and like you got to earn it or whatever. Like I think you can get that on your own too. Like you could go for a fucking, Elden Ring platinum. I'm sure has plenty of its challenges. Like there are those old school like difficulty things. There's so many ways I think to engage in challenge and accomplishment, but I don't think that you should take something that's a singular experience and then make it competitive. I think that's automatically it's a good way to lose because there's always gonna be someone, even from your purist standpoint, like I'm sure you could find some psycho purist who also has still, 800 and you have 750 and like it's I think a losing game to look at it that way. I don't think it devalues it because you still get plenty of the platinum experiences from games that you would be playing otherwise. Like, so what if you can get 800 from I Am Mayo 87? Like, I don't want to play
Cameron Kennedy in the chat
87.
says, yeah, the only thing I have against shovelware games is the clutter on the storefront, which is obviously a different argument. But guess what? As we all know from every storefront, especially Nintendo that doesn't have trophies, that's going to be there no matter what. So again, like, I feel like this would be such a different conversation if, hey, great news. Once you cross 170 platinums, 175 platinums, you get access to some PlayStation Plus discount permanently. You get you get pre-orders before everybody, yada, yada. Like, that isn't what the system is. The system isn't incentivized that way. So I think, like, for me and my 164 platinums, right? Like, part of the narrative and the story behind those are that so many of them are trash, right? Like that's an ongoing joke thing we talk about here, but like it's what I did and it's funny that that's how it is. I don't think have I missed where I've been approached by, was I on the short list for the Nobel Prize because they're like, man, this guy's got a lot of platinum. It's like, no, this isn't like how it is. What bar are people going to where they sit down, they be like, well, I have 200 platinums. Oh shit, that's a lot of platinums. Then never speak about the games, never look at the thing. Like, what internet message board's throwing this around? Like, fuck yeah, I'm the king of the castle. Look at this.
It's funny because this is like, it's like me and Greg. Like, this is a me and Greg episode. We're hanging out, blah, blah, Barrett's here as everybody's having fun. I feel like secretly this is me, Greg, and Ryan in this chat though. Because Ryan just posted, I gotta draw, I didn't want to jump on the Ryan drinking back, but Ryan just posted, just give a platinum for playing a game and seeing the credits. So now the truth comes out. You want the platinum, but you don't want to do the work to get it, which is again that you got ZJ the Ball for that if you want a quick plat. But
I think he's insulting us with it.
The structure is is that work. Like, and there are games too that are like legitimate where you do have that element too. So I don't know. I feel like there's a bit.
I'll throw it out
stuff
there.
from
I
across
miss
the
the
board.
Telltale lists. I miss Telltale games. I miss just playing a story through and getting a platinum.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? They got clever with the final season of like, oh,
I
we'll
wish
collect all these things
Firewatch
and do it.
did
I'm like, I'm
that.
not going back for this.
I'm
not
sitting
going
at
back for
84% for Firewatch, and there is no platinum for that game, and I'm just like,
this. That drives
are
me
you
crazy
sure?
too. I fucking hate
I
them.
could throw the toilet paper in the lake. I did that anyway. Like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could totally happen. But yeah, like I have enjoyed my new twisted life in this community of getting platinums, and I don't know, it's a fun additional angle to look at stuff.
So, as you brought up, you have what, 8 platinums? You said you're
Yeah.
part of the culture now.
Mhm.
You had put on here planning our next platinums was something you'd want to talk about.
Yeah.
Now, I know we did. I think this came up briefly weeks or months ago now at this point, but I do want to know where you're at and what you're planning. Because we are on the verge of holiday season. You did make good and you got your Horizon. Oh, you got your iPad out. Oh, look at this. This shit's serious over here. Fuck. What is your, is this a
It
list?
actually doesn't fucking flip around because I have the keyboard one, so I shouldn't have done that. It was a mistake.
Sure.
But you know, it elevates. There's, you know, that's I feel like that's really the appeal of the iPad in a lot of ways. Like, whenever I bring out this iPad, people are like, "Oh shit, you like
She's
actually
serious.
do things." I'm like, this could have just been on my phone. It's just the Notes app. But now it's like, it elevates it, you know, to a certain level of severity there. But yeah, what are my plans? My plans and my dreams. Some would say I'm a fool to make these plans because I have not finished God of War 2018 yet. That's due in like 13, 12 days or something.
There was a
But I'm
Reddit
working on
thread.
it.
There was a
We're
Reddit
gonna-
thread today. That was like, did Blessing just slip up and say that he had Ragnarok because he was saying he needs to get ready for God of War? And I was like, no. Remember, we all got to play God of War.
that's so funny.
We are all
No,
putting it off. Like we are
got
8th
God of War at
graders with a
home,
science
you know?
project due tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's gonna come together in the final hour because
fucking
it has
Like
to.
what we did with Days Gone. We can do it again.
Exactly. So I am going to. It's tough because I gotta also beat some of these games before I even start thinking about the platinum.
Sure.
One of the ones I'm thinking of doing is Roller Drome. I think.
Okay.
Is
Sure,
one that
sure,
I want.
Is that
Now-
tough? Because that's a skill-based game,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Of, like,
just
keeping
that's
things
just a
together.
hard game, you know.
So it's a mix, which I like. I think it's going to be part of the fun of it. Some of the things are just straight up challenges you have to do, so like can be difficult. But what's nice about Roller Drome, and it's funny talking about checklists, it's a checklist within a checklist game because all of the like levels have different basically challenges that you do. But you don't have to like once you achieve that challenge, it counts. You don't have to like live and beat the level. That's one way they make it easier.
Okay.
2, you only have to take on the challenges one at a time. It's not like you have to have this ultimate run of getting, crazy million combo. You kill somebody with a shotgun. Like 3, they have a lot of difficulty settings, including stuff like you don't die at all, which you can use to do the trophy where it's like kill this boss without getting hit. You can just put on don't take damage and do that because my friend did it and it works. So any of the things, so I feel like there's still challenges for sure. Like I've been playing and like replaying the levels to like clean up some of them. Like, this one's totally finished. And to a degree, like to progress the game, you have to do that, but you can also turn that off. So like, I think Roller Drome is fun in that it invites challenge, but also provides a tool set and a structure to make those challenges doable and even to some degree cheesable, depending on, I think that boss is probably the most cheesed example of that. And there's not too many other things like that because it's not like a game that's very combative in terms of like, I mean, you are killing people, but it's not like there's a lot of bosses or something like that. So yeah, I'm sitting only at like 12% though on the trophy list. I'm like halfway or 1/3 through the game. I played a bunch.
Are you
but, like,
worried?
I
I'm
haven't
looking
picked
at
it
the
up.
list and I haven't played the game. I've just watched the
Okay.
stuff and then listened to the guys review it. Like perform a single combo worth more than 3 million. That sounds tough.
That does sound tough.
Okay.
We'll see. I mean, I'm
Okay.
willing to put in the work. I love that game.
Again,
it
you
is
roller
a
skate in
great-
real life, so you should
I
have an
roller
advantage.
skate in real life. That's the thing. Like I think the game's super fun. I feel like I don't know how hard that $3 million combo is. That sounds really hard. But worst case scenario, I'm pulling up a guide. I'm figuring out what do I need to do. What's the best place to go? Like I'll bust out additional strategies if I need to for something like that. But I think it will be fine to do. Yeah. So I want to do that one. That's one of mine. What is one of yours if you have one? We'll kind of go back and forth.
Let's just pick one. All right, Shannon. We got a lot of show here still, dude. I want to talk to OFK, and I don't want to get too far from that.
Okay.
But I'm sticking with, and there's a wrinkle to it, Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed.
Okay.
Obviously, the next Ghostbusters game, multiplayer, coming from Ilphonic, and a game that I'm in. The thing about it, of course, is that since I last said that, the trophy list has come out. XOFace has it up, so you can go look at it. And so it's one of those weird ones that I've glanced at before and I'm looking at now, and it doesn't seem bad. It doesn't have the usual. Remember, my concern was as somebody who loved Friday the 13th and really enjoyed Predator Hunting Grounds, those trophy lists are dog shit. Play like a 500 games or whatever, get 500 kills as Predator. Like that shit sucks. That's like, okay, cool. I'm a professional Predator player, and that's how I'm gonna have to do it. You look through this one, it doesn't seem bad, but I really don't think I'll know until I'm playing the game, right? Because it is like, calm down, 100 civilians from a scared state. All right, that's chip damage, and that's 100 isn't crazy if you do just 1 a match, 2 a match, 3 a match. That's not that bad as a Ghostbuster, right? Upgrade stuff, sure, okay, whatever. It does get into about damage. And one of the main things I had for a turnoff for Ghostbusters, the video game remastered in the original Ghostbusters, which had a multiplayer one, which was a whole different ball of wax, is playing it on hard, which was incredibly tough. And then, yeah, there was like, finish the game with this excessive amount of damage and then finish it with little to no damage. And I was like, that's not fun. That's not how I want to play Ghostbusters. And there's different workarounds for it and stuff. So you can do private matches in this and you can play offline, you can play single player. So I'm hoping some of that would make it easier. Like there's collect 500 spores, molds, and fungi, right? Like, okay, how easy are those to collect in the game? I don't know. Are they there every match? Are they there multiple times every match? What am I actually getting into? Where am I going for that? But yeah, like bust a ghost with less than $1,000 worth of property damage. Now, if I can cheese that and have the ghost, one of my friends be the ghost and I just bust him easily, great. If not, how hard is it? Because there's one up here of a catastrophic destroyer that's $5 million of damage for the career. So okay, whatever. $1 million for career. Okay. And then in one job, do $100,000 of property damage in one job. So what's the, like, if $1,000 is the high end, $1,000 is the low end, what am I really doing it? There's one here that's whoopsie, destroy a very expensive object, which will make whoever was the one to talk about the Peng trophy seem happy. Because apparently then you figure there's one probably really expensive object, right? You have to go to destroy or whatever.
Sure.
So I look through it and it's like,
hard.
this seems like I have to play the game, uncover 50 rifts, sure, capture 25 ghosts, help destroy 30 rifts. Like, yeah, this all seems doable, but I won't know until I'm on the sticks and I know what it's like. There's one, pull a ghost into a trap with a 4-person tether. Okay, so we have to work together, but that doesn't sound impossible. There's one, I can't find it right now, but as a ghost, slime all the Ghostbusters in like, whatever amount of seconds or whatever, maybe in one line. Okay. I don't know. I think I'm cautiously optimistic that this one seems fun and doable.
Okay.
Not that it's going to be easy, that you can't, that everybody's going to pop it, but that I will enjoy getting this one for as much as I want to go play Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed.
Yeah, we'll see. It sounds like a lot of planning on that one. Like, but maybe it feels that way because you haven't, like, maybe it's one of those things where once you start getting into it, it comes more easily than it seems like it would from just looking at it.
Yeah. See, my thing is, I don't think it's going to be a lot of planning. I think what it'll be is jump in, play a bunch of multiplayer matches, pop a whole bunch of them just naturally, and then have to be like what you're talking about of like, all right, what do I need to do? Oh, okay, like pass through a buster. No, that's easy. Whatever. Go, whatever one of these ones is. Down a buster that's reviving another buster. Like, just be on the lookout for those very specific things.
Yeah.
And then go do them. Oh, here it is. Pass through all 4 Ghostbusters within 3-second window. That sounds tough, but it also sounds like one you could look into if you're going to play as the ghost and just be doing your thing.
I think too, because we're going to move on to We Are OFK, right? At this point.
I mean, I got some more trophy questions for you. Don't worry about that.
Okay. Well, also, I have a couple other ones on my radar.
Throw it out. See, my thing is I got to be picky and choosy, right? Where it's like, if you would have told me,
I don't have a kid. I was like, what?
Exactly. You told me I wouldn't have.
I have,
Forbidden West. I don't have the platinum in that yet. That's outrageous. But it's just how the dice fell.
Talking about ways that were broken. If I'm not getting these digital things, what was this all for? Like.
Janet, you gonna go for the Last of Us remake?
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking
3,000%.
I'm thinking about it. But like, here's
What's your hesitancy?
Here's the thing: is like all of these optional conversations. I'm looking at my one right now of like what I've gotten so far, and it's like a lot of collectible stuff where I'm like, okay, yeah, that doesn't seem too bad. Like, like the find all Firefly pendants. Like, yeah, I got a lot of work to do there.
Sure.
Collect all comics, but then it's like, I've got 21 more fucking conversations to go find. That doesn't seem like a great time.
This was my thing where like when I got it and we looked at the trophy list and we were reviewing it and I was like, okay. And I had that moment of like, maybe I should and I looked at this and I'm like, platinuming this would be sitting there with the guide open and doing, and I'm not about that. I do not want to do that. I do not want to be like, where's the next thing?
I'm willing to do that, and I haven't played Left Behind yet, so I have all of the Left Behind trophies to still get. So it's like, it's essentially like I gotta do like another playthrough, but maybe just to like go through every chapter and find every collectible and all that stuff, and just kind of do that, and maybe just listen to a podcast in the background or something, you know.
Yeah, the conversations are kind of a bitch. And also even like I'm like playing through it and like I got to like I'm like a little bit past the hotel, you know, where like I feel like we have played Last of Us.
Where
so
Ellie
like,
kills her first person.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Yes.
It's been 9
exactly.
years. We can say that.
You know. If Marvel can spoil Sopranos, I can spoil The Last of Us Part 1. You got to watch every single piece of content we put out to really know what we're ever talking about. Yeah. It's part of a larger universe that we're building here. But yeah, I'm at that part and I am trying to play thoroughly, but I'm like, I don't want to go to a guide yet. You know, I'm like, okay, I'll do that maybe for like a cleanup playthrough or whatever. And it's definitely one of those things where I'm like, I found the note about the safe, but I don't think I opened this save. So that's one thing. And the stress I feel when Ellie tells her fucking jokes now, because I want to like get the joke one, and I didn't get it. Like I don't even think I got it like originally when I played, because I probably missed one of her jokes.
Apparently, I missed all 3 of her jokes, which I think is bullshit. Because I definitely sat through some jokes at some point.
Yeah. So I'm like out here like whenever they have the little chime like ding, and I'm like, who the fuck wants to talk? Let's go. Like we'll talk right now. And it's like a weird. And again, and I know some people with the whole like trophy chat is like, see, what isn't that now fun? It's just a different. It's the challenge and the experience is fun, even if the thing is like kind of a pain in the ass sometimes, because it's still like part of that process.
Sometimes monotonous hard work can be fun and rewarding.
Yeah,
that's why I like doing dishes.
Not according to Ryan.
Sometimes some jokes don't trigger unless you do. That's the thing too. It's like a whole thing. It's a whole thing, Chad, with the jokes. But I do want to go back and do that because I really love that game. One thing that my friend Neens is doing, she says she wants to play also with the commentary on. I'm like, I kind of want to do that too. So we'll see what I end up doing. But I think you totally should get the trophy. I mean, seem like you're enjoying the game enough to get the platinum, and the difficulty thing is gone.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah. If the difficulty thing was still there, I'd say fuck that.
Oh, yeah, me too. I'm not doing that.
Connor K writes in, Janet, and says, what singular trophy/achievement, not platinum, are you most proud of? For me, it's the trophy for beating Mass Effect 2 on Insanity. While I'll try and 100% games I love, like Mass Effect, God of War, Halo, etc., I have found I'm more proud of individual trophies, such as beating Uncharted 2 on Crushing, or for beating Weiss in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Getting that one trophy I have worked and grinded for hours, days, or weeks to unlock feels more satisfying than the 100%. Jan, do you fall into this camp? Do you have a trophy that stands out for you?
I don't think so, because unfortunately... Well, I'm going to look through my Overcooked list while you answer this question. But for my quick, cheap answer is a lot of times when I see that big deal, like, oh, man, you got to really be on it. I'm like, time to drop this shit down to easy. Like, that's what I did with the Horizon one. Like, I took those moments for myself because I didn't want to do them. So, like, with the Horizon, the melee pits, I will say I was proud of my work in the melee pits for the first like 2 or 3, but then when you had to face like the melee pit master, I was like, you know what? She's better than me, and that's fine with me. I'm just gonna do this on story, and then walk away. So I kind of try to avoid those like bigger deal ones anyway, because I don't want to like deal with the work of them. But probably something from Overcooked All You Can Eat, I would imagine, or honestly, even just, you know, Jack and Daxter getting all the orbs, which you kind of get at the end, so it's basically the platinum at that point. But the orbs are just a pain in the ass to get because they're like always these little clusters, and it's like you got to play like the perfect game in the perfect order to like comfortably grab all of them. So I will say, like, I wouldn't say it's more exciting than the platinum, but having that one, because that is the hard trophy of that platinum, that's what makes that difficult. That was an exciting thing, because you walk up to like at the end of the game, they kind of have like them all stacked in a line, and I'm like, oh my God, I could look early and like, I don't count them out for the level, but I'm like, is this gonna be it? And then for it to have finally been the end, is very satisfying. But again, that's kind of tied to the platinum in that game, at least. What about you?
Well, before I get there, I lost the narrative. You said what did you open with? Because I had something I wanted to say about it from there.
Yeah, I robbed myself of those like big achievements because I just put it on easy.
And that's my thing about it, where again, you know, trophies and any of the stuff is what you want to make it out of it. And so like, oh man, you don't have this, you didn't really beat the game. When I platinumed God of War 2018, you know, and everybody was bitching about the Valkyries, I was like, oh, I just dialed it to easy when I came to them. I didn't want to do that. I engaged with the first couple fights and like I beat them fine, and then like, you know, it got harder and I was just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to slam my head in it, but I want to get this done. So I did it. I don't fall into and I'm not, you know, yucking Connor's yums here. I don't fall into the, hey, oh, what's my most proud trophy? What stands out the most to me? Because for me, it is always building to, okay, I platinumed it. Like I understand Uncharted 2 on crushing, but for me, it is the fact that I have the Uncharted 2 plat, right? That's what I went through and did. Yeah, what I put here, you know, knee-jerk answer to the question when he asked was my SingStar Celebrity Trophy, which in a million years, I would never be able to tell you is a hard trophy or a trophy that's interesting, but it's because on PSN profiles, they have a section that are what are your rarest trophies. And out of all the gajillion trophies I have, my total of 12,224 trophies, that's the one that only on PSN 0.62% of people have. I had it open, I lost it. It's the one that is get a grand total of 8,000 views on all your media ever. Because this was, of course, this PS3 game, you know, where you did karaoke, but then you uploaded the clips in the app or the game, and you could watch them there. And because, of course, I was on IGN saying, "Go watch my clips," people watch my clips, and so it's there and it's rare, and that's really cool. It also falls into like that's another platinum I would have loved to have had, but I just didn't want to put in the work to play it a certain way. You look at my trophies for it, right? And it's like perform over 9,000 on 5 different songs on medium. I never got that. I crushed it on easy. I got the bronze for it or whatever and had a great time doing it. But like SingStar was have people over to the house and do a little party and have fun. I wasn't worried about like grinding this out because that's not how I wanted to play SingStar.
Yeah, like I think the closest to like an individual achievement that I am excited about is more, funny enough, the stuff I just happened to do on the way to the platinum. Like Overcooked All You Can Eat, me and Maggie beat every level in that game. That's the first game, the second game, and all the DLC. And we 3-starred every single level of that. Because I think 3 is the base highest. And then when they unlock like more stars, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's too much. I'm like, okay, what am I gonna be like? Well, we've debated like maybe we should go and try to get the 5. I think there's like 5 stars like unlocked or 4 or something. But just that process was fun. Or like one of my big memories that kind of counts as like individual trophy is they require you to do some stuff that's 4-player. Multiplayer stuff. And there's only 2 of us playing, so we had to bring in Edwin and Isaiah, who both don't really like the game and are not very good at the game, I would say.
Damn.
Wow.
So it's like, how do we work with these dudes who like don't know what's going on? And it's like, I'm like, no, you gotta pass them. And it's like, that's when the chaos really broke out of the like, this is a separate challenge within the regular challenge of just playing the levels. But yeah, I mean, I don't think they claim to be good at it. It's not their thing. It's me and Maggie's thing. And we're like pro players at this and have like a synchronicity that people dream about, you know? I wonder how good we'd be if we actually had to compete, though. We're probably not very good, but you know,
competing's in a whole other level.
Oh, yeah.
You go back to, you know, Joey playing in a competition on a KindaFunny stream like 3 years ago with Andrew.
Oh man, when I just destroyed her and Andrew.
Yeah.
Renee, remember that? I'm so good at Overcooked.
Overcooked.
Janet, we next time we're together, we should do that because Poe and I platinumed in quotes Overcooked 1, which didn't have a platinum, but we got all the trophies. We stayed up doing it. And Overcooked 2, I was so gung-ho and I forget why it just didn't happen. Like I think it might have been me and Poe doing it again because it's like I'm looking at it and what do I have left? Deliver 1,000 meals, throw 100 ingredients, win 10. Like the hard stuff is done. Like, you know, I feel like it's just now I need to play Overcooked 2 over and over again.
Yeah.
Maybe
which sounds like that's its own reward. You should get all you can eat if you don't have it and just go clean front to back on the whole thing. Like I like doing that personally. Because I had one and I don't even know if we beat one. And then we had 2 somewhere else. And when I got all you could eat, when it like came out for like current gen consoles, I was like, okay, this is our new lives here. We're starting clean. We're doing the whole thing. You don't even have to beat, I think, all the levels to the platinum because you just discover the areas. But yeah, I think the only thing we didn't do was there's secret levels that pop up for like weird shit that you would never know about. Like, oh, you happen to do this thing with the sushi. Now there's this secret Kevin level. And I'm like, I don't know how to even trigger these, but I guess we'll play these too. Anyway.
I love trophies, Janet.
Yeah, it's fun times.
It is fun time. Sorry, Ryan, you're wrong. Everybody loves trophies. And if you don't,
KindaFunny.com/you're wrong.
Understand why you don't love trophies, because it's on you. Look in the mirror, everybody.
Yeah.
Usually, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we do This Week in PlayStation, and we talk about everything that's happened. However, I'm just going to give you a recap so we can go talk about OFK and give you a review on that. Right? Number one, PlayStation's beefing with Xbox publicly. We did a great breakdown in Games Daily about it. It's Jim Ryan responding to Phil Spencer's thing about Call of Duty and basically saying they're still only letting us have this for 3 more years. It's a terrible deal. And Xbox being like, it's actually better than most deals. It's them, PlayStation, arguing about Xbox trying to stop doing their job of trying to stop the competition from getting an upper hand. It's going to happen no matter what, but it's whatever. It's discussed and it's going to keep going back. And it's like information we already knew, but then getting recycled, publicly confirmed, but then still not being as clear as it should be. That's what it is. There's a Games Daily about it if you really want to get into it. There's a PlayStation 5 Gray Camouflage Collection coming. It was revealed over on the PlayStation blog. Starting October 14th, the DualSense wireless controller in Gray Camouflage will be available and offered at other that's on direct.playstation.com. Other retailers on the 28th. Starting October 14th, the PS5 console covers in Gray Camouflage will be available exclusively at direct.playstation.com. Barrett's got them up right there. And yeah, this doesn't.
You know how you make camouflage worse? You make it gray, Greg. Gray camouflage. What are we doing here, man? What are we doing here?
You blend it with the concrete. But hey, at least they're doing more
like
colors.
Rocking this complete set. It just seems so intense for just me and my visual novels. Just like completely incognito.
Not yucking your yums. If that's what you want, go get it. Go have your thing. But like, yeah, I look at that. I'm like, I'm happy. You know, first off, I have the Jim Lee one. And then when I'm not rocking that, on my other one, I use the hot pink. Yeah, Janet, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Which looks weirdly similar to the red, especially online. Like they look
on camera, it does. In real life, in my
weird.
hand, it's so clearly pink.
Yeah.
But every time I put up a photo, people are like, oh, the red one? I'm like, well, no, it's the pink one.
I want them to drop a pastel line because I actually wish the pink was just a pastel pink, to be honest.
God, I still wish they would do a Xbox design lab for it. You know what I mean? It was
I'm also just waiting for like which I don't know. Why are you going to read the question that's written in? I don't know if you're going to read that or not.
I wasn't, but I can. Daniel writes in and says, hey, PS Crew, first time asking a question. With the announcement of the camo colors accessories for PlayStation, my question is, what do you hope for when it comes to customization? I'd always like to have something rare or unique. I hope they release some Metal Gear theme stuff. That'd be fucking awesome, yeah.
I just want more game-specific ones, too. Like, I feel like when we
this
talked
is my
about
argument.
This
was my argument on Games Daily because it came up, right? Of just like, I bet they would love to as well have a God of War Ragnarok PS5 come out, but it's like, well, we can't make PS5, so we can't do that. And then the argument from the chat was, well, why don't they just release the plates and the controller solo? And I was saying that will set a precedent that when they want to put it out for Ghost of Tsushima 2, a PS5 bundle, everybody's going to go, well, you released the God of War Ragnarok skins. Why didn't you just release that here? So they to make their money later on down the road, they can't do that, which stinks. But let me just design one. Let me do some cool stuff with it.
I don't know. I still wish they did because I feel like it's such a unique opportunity to like not have to do that. And I feel like, I don't know, you could have, well, it's tough because like I'm thinking of the other comparison point, which would be the Switch, where like there's the Joy-Con, but then there's also like the special edition consoles which are different. Sure. But at the same time, like the Joy-Con are still inherently a controller, while like a faceplate is inherently like part of the console. So I kind of do get it, but I want to at least then see them do that, even though I'm not going to buy that. I very rarely buy special edition consoles, but at least then there'd be something specific that's game specific. But yeah.
And then your last update for the week, if you missed it, ladies and gentlemen, Firewall Ultra has been announced. Since day one, First Contact Entertainment has been focused on bringing quality experiences to virtual reality, and our team has always believed that pushing the boundaries of what's possible, which is why now, after 4 years of support for Firewall 0 Hour, we are proud to announce that we'll be pushing those boundaries once again with our next live-operated first-person multiplayer shooter for PlayStation VR 2, Firewall Ultra. Of course, there's a whole write-up that you can hear about on KindaFunny Games Daily, but in short, guess what? Firewall, you're getting more Firewall on PlayStation VR, and I can't wait. Very excited about that. Did you ever play 0 Hour?
I don't think so, because I'm just, I'm not like the biggest shooter person, even though I know that's like a huge appeal point in VR to have those experiences. And of course, there's exceptions, like the freaking, what is it, Super Hot, right? Yeah. But I think this is like a big deal because it's like, okay, we're I just want to see that library get built out. I'm like, I don't even need it to be obviously everything I want to play because we all have different tastes, but like the more it can be, hey, you know this name, you know this game, it's critically acclaimed. Catch us on PSVR 2. It's like, again, I feel like this is gonna be a cursed statement in like 6 years when PSVR 2 flops and they don't do VR ever again. But it's like PSVR 2 is where it's at. You know, this is where the VR part. That's like
every time stamp that one. Remember that one for when they full support in 2 years.
Yeah, but then that's fine because I'll be like, you know, a pillar of the community at that point. It works out either way, but. Yeah, I want to see them build that out and be successful, at least as successful as they can be. Obviously, I never think this is it's a niche thing, but it's like, okay, like we're here, we're hanging out, we're releasing big deal games.
I think it's one of those, even if you don't care about Firewall, which I would tell you you're silly and you should care about, especially on PlayStation VR 2. What's exciting is, all right, cool, more PlayStation VR 2 news. Like, right, like, you know, that's coming spring of next year, so we got to start talking about it at some point, which means they're going to start talking about it at some point. So
I just moved my old VR stuff to a new bin. So bin. Just yesterday, hey, it's there. It's secured. I even have the weird dongle that puts the old VR on the PS5, which I never used. I kind of feel bad that I made Sony send it to me because I never used it. But I was like, this is my right as a consumer.
We felt like we would, though. You know, I'm right there with you.
Well, you know, like, yeah.
I'm definitely going to come back and play Iron Man Platinum. You were talking about Platinum. I'm going to go back for the Iron Man VR Platinum, of course. And then I just never did.
Well, now that they have a new thing, I'm like, well, now I really don't need to do this. I'm just going to wait. So I'm waiting patiently.
And then your final little update is a fun one. It's from PlayStation Blog as well. You can play Stray, take photos, and raise money for the American Society of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Starting today through September 23rd, 2022, players just share photos or videos of your cat, dog, or other pet reacting to or posing next to Stray gameplay on PlayStation, on Twitter, or Instagram using the hashtag StrayReactions. At the end of the submission window, we'll select our favorite inquisitive kitty videos and tail wagging photos into a digital photo book to present to the ASPCA alongside a $25,000 donation. We'll also be including some of the posts into a sizzle reel that we'll share on our blog and social channels. So,
cool.
If you have a pet and you have Stray and you want to, and again, spoilers, a lot of you put this up already, not tagged. Just take the same photo and put it back out there and get in the book. Don't you want to be in a book?
Yes, sure.
No.
I wish they did this at launch, but I guess maybe they didn't think about it before.
They didn't. I don't think they expected it to be such a move, right? Of
yeah,
like,
but I'm like,
shit, everybody fucking cares about Stray.
And
animals are obsessed with it.
I knew everyone was gonna post that. Like it was funny because Stray had an awkward embargo that a lot of people accidentally broke, or maybe they didn't care. I don't know. Where it's like, I'm like, oh, you can't post anything yet. So it's like, but everyone, of course, I knew was gonna post the same thing that everyone's gonna post, right? It's your cat looking at the thing, being on the TV. Pets reacting and stuff. Like, I'm glad they're dropping this though. It's really cool when they have these little, I guess, like social tie-ins of like kind of like the Horizon had one too with the trees, right? It's
that was cool. That was attached to a trophy again, which is real cool.
Yeah,
but of course Ryan would tell you that trophy and all the trees we planted didn't do anything because it was stupid to go for it.
Man.
God damn it.
It's a Band-Aid on a broken leg, which is true, but I still feel good about the trees, so whatever.
It's time for PlayStation picks, of course. Just a heads up on some of the big things that came out this week. Somewhat pretty quiet week. Temtem's out. Of course, that's that Pokemon MMO online deal that's out finally officially. NBA 2K23 comes out tomorrow. And then the finale of OFK, We Are OFK. Episode 5 is coming out tomorrow /out. And that leads us to, what did you pick on PlayStation this week? Janet, you and I, of course, played We Are OFK quite a while ago.
Yes.
So it's not actually what we picked this week, but it's finally time because we dropped the dead anchor. The dead weight / anchor around our necks. Blessing Adioya, the dead anchor. You fucked it up, Greg. God damn it. We can talk about OFK. Janet, what did you think of We Are OFK?
Oh my God,
I guess actually, what is We Are OFK? If people don't know.
So We Are OFK is an episodic narrative-driven game across 5 episodes, with the first 2 dropping the day that it came out. As Greg just mentioned, episode 5 drops this week, so the complete game will be available for the public. And it is a virtual band because the band also will exist like outside of the scope of the game as like, you know, putting out actual like content as musicians, but that's kind of separate to like the game of it, more of like a fun fact, right? So it's a story that follows a group of sort of, I'd say, millennial aged people just trying to like make it in LA and live their lives in terms of making money, in terms of being happy in their career. And also there's like a layer of like, you know, interpersonal stuff, whether they're friendships, you know, roommate relationships or romantic relationships that are sort of running in the background. There's definitely a layer of like some of them are in like game dev, and then there's like talking about like burnout and well, now I'm getting into the weeds of the story, but that's the general structure is these are young people in LA living their lives, trying to make it, forming this band. And one of the kind of things that the team has highlighted is that they see this game as like more like a TV show almost in terms of like the interactivity and the way you consume it. I guess millennials all like, well, you can be like 20s. Like, what's the youngest millennial like in terms of age? Maybe they're younger than that. Maybe there are Gen Z underneath us.
It counts for we know what you're talking about.
They're in their 20s.
They are 20-somethings, upper 20-somethings that are meandering through life and are now in jobs they don't necessarily like, and now they're coming together.
Yeah. And there's they did mention like kind of pre-release, like part of the marketing is like, oh, there'll be like these songs that are highlighted in each episode, and there'll be these music video moments, and that is kind of the general pitch of the game. People are saying 25 to 26 is youngest millennial. I don't know their ages. They could be that old. They could be like a year or two younger, but yeah, there you go. That's the pitch.
What did you think of We Are OFK, Janet Garcia?
I went through a roller coaster this game. This is another Greg and Jay classic of like, we're in it to win it, even if we lose, because this is our lives. I started up this game and I was like, okay. Okay. So here's the thing. I started the game and I'm like, let me play through this. Love the art direction, and was enjoying the story a lot. I took a bunch of notes on this game and I was like, okay, I love the writing. I thought was really strong. They have some cool nerd references tossed throughout to like, anime and Star Wars and different things. I thought again, talking about trophies, I really loved one of the first trophies I got in this was for pausing the game. Yeah, and it's kind of set up like a TV show or like a thing you're streaming. So it shows like when you pause the game, there's like an overlay, like a UI overlay as if it's like an episode on like Netflix or something. So I was like, oh man, a trophy for pausing the game. And like I texted you right away. I was like, every game should have a trophy for pausing the game. I just think it's, I don't know, a hilarious, cute, easy thing. And I don't see stuff like that a lot. So I thought that was very cool. I noticed they spell video games as one word. That's a choice.
Oof, I hate
See
that.
where you land.
Ouch.
I don't like that either. They reference Hyper Light Drifter, which I wrote that down. I was like, oh, okay. It's like very kind of meta in some spots.
We know that Teddy made that game.
Yes.
Luca. Okay.
Yeah. And they have one thing I like too is I thought the interpersonal relationships felt very like authentic.
Yeah.
Like there's like a scene where like someone's at the bar and they're like getting approached. They don't want to be. It just felt very real. There's also some really cool stuff that they do from like a cultural standpoint. Like it's a very diverse like cast, and they talk about like one of the characters calls their mom and they're like, hey mom, how do I make the rice? It never comes out the right way. And I'm like, yes, this is like so fucking relatable. I was like, this is my life on screen. I was fucking in it for episode 1. And there's a lot of like drama going on just in the game in terms of like much of life. Like if we map out things that happen, sometimes shit's like, oh man, shit's going down. So I left episode 1 feeling good. I messaged you about it. I think we can pick up from there on kind of where this went or like where you are there, but that's my episode 1 take.
I was
do
further
like, big picture stuff.
I was farther ahead of you, and you were like, I'm really, whatever it was. Like, I thought that was good. And I'm like, hold on, man.
That's
just
when I got
hold
scared.
on. And it's like, I guess full disclosure, of course, this is a game that my wife's company, Pop Agenda, did some marketing and PR for. It's not, especially being removed from it. There was a point where I was playing this game and this is leading into my vacation. And I was like, the review mark, I think it was during vacation. I was like, I think maybe I was episode 4. And I was like, is this a 2 out of 5? Like, am I not enjoying myself that much? And then I got to episode 5 and I don't think it makes it all worth it, but I do think it does a good job of bringing together the threads. Before I even go into all of it, I think if you don't know anything about We Are OFK, this isn't a game. And I don't think that's a knock against it or a negative against it. This is an interactive show, an interactive movie, whatever you want it to be. And even interactive is used super loosely because this isn't like As Dusk Falls, right? Where you're making a decision and the story branches. I guess a PlayStation reference, Detroit Become Human, and you make a choice, and even though there's gameplay there, but stick with me, just choices. Here you make choices, but it's literally just the seasoning of what dish you're eating. Like, are you putting more salt or more pepper into it? What do you want to say in that moment. It does not, everybody's having the same story beats and having the same things. There are alternate endings based on choices you make, but alternate endings are just alternate conversations at the end. They're not, the game ends somewhere different. My problem is that it spins its wheels too long. I feel that this game, OFK the game, or the narrative experience, whatever you want to call it, we'll call it a game the rest of the way, I do not recommend. I do not think you need to go play this. I did not have fun with it and walk away from the blah, blah. OFK the band, I think you should subscribe to on Spotify. I love the music. I think the music's dope as hell. I think the game's beautiful. I think the voice acting and the acting is really well done. The art style is incredible. There's so much about it, except for the fact that the story just didn't work for me, because I feel like it plays, and this is a very Greg reference, but you'll be there from it. It plays a lot, the story, like the prequel comic books you would read before you went and watched a movie or went and played a game. This is clearly the prequel to OFK the band. Go buy the CD, go be part of the thing. Da, 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 da. This 5-episode run, episodes 2, 3, and 4 should have been truncated and been part of episodes 2 and 3. Like, I'm not spoiling anything here. It's just like the game ends without them ever being a band. Like, I thought, and when we didn't know much about this game leading up to it, I was like, oh, it's the formation of the band and becoming this thing and da 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 da. Clearly, it's going to be this rise up, and then there'll be this challenge, and then we're the band. We are OFK. We have this huge thing, and yada yada yada. It is so much more about the drama behind the scenes of making the music, but it never actually is about making the music. Like, there's episode 1 is probably the best at it, where Luca goes into the recording booth, lays down the track, and then we do a very basic game of, like, I forget which one it is, of you move a cursor though, and you can not do anything. There's no fail state on it. You play through the music video while the music plays, like, great. But then the rest there's a one track for every episode. It's not like I felt really referencing what's going on, or it's pulling from this thing, or there's this aha moment of we're doing this. Even the band name, they make a big deal. Like, we need to pick a name. And like, we know what it's going to be. Right. And so I'm waiting for the We Are OFK, bam, bam, and like the band name, it gets picked between episode 4 and 5, and then gets revealed in episode 5 as an offhand comment in a thing with a lapsed friend. And I'm like, what the fuck? And it's the thing of, like, the characters are, I don't think they're not interesting. They're just not, and this is gonna, mileage will vary, not relatable. I don't enjoy them. Like so much of it is just like, well, I don't want to do the thing. Well, no, do the thing, or what's the conflict between you and the thing? And then it's like, you just don't want to do and it's like, all of this, if this was truncated and it was one episode of the 4 of them dealing with their personal demons to get to the place, great. But instead they spread it out where every episode is one of them conquering the personal demon. That could, of course, be conquered if they would just talk to each other. Nobody fucking talks to each other. It's just like, and I get that this is real life for a lot of people, of you don't know how to stupid fights and this, that, and the other. That's all fine. It's just not an engaging experience to watch and have be the entertainment value. I just wasn't entertained through the overwhelming majority of it. Again, I think in the end, we get to a place where I'm like, shit, well, it's not a 2 out of 5, but it's also not something, it's definitely that, okay, like, it's a 3 out of 5 for me of, like, if you want to do this, but I think there's so many better things to watch.
Yeah, for me, episode 2, like, this is kind of my trajectory of it. Episode 2, I'm also pretty much down for. Like, I enjoyed it fine. I actually did find it really relatable. Like, the idea of these, like, especially, like, I think the game dev burnout that one of the characters experiences and then goes to form this band, because it's that classic, I think, thing that a lot of creatives face of, like, I'm not getting enough creative fulfillment in my inherently creative job, so I'm going to seek a new creative avenue. I'm like, yeah.
That's how we ended up here.
Yeah. I was like,
but the problem is, the problem is, I don't like my creative job and I'm not getting fulfilled here.
Sure.
Falls ass backwards into a recording thing and then just doesn't jump on it. Like,
yeah, I will say, but at the same time, I'm like, I think it's fine to have, like, a self-destructive character like that. Like, you're not meant to like these characters in a lot of ways.
But they're all self-destructive. That's the problem.
Yeah, I was like, everyone's kind of too fucked up in this. But that's not even my beef with the game, though. But it is something that irked me, and I think especially one of the things this game has going against it is that it isn't that choose your own adventure thing, But because you have a level of interactivity, there is a bit of baked in frustration of like, I want to be able to do something, but I can't because that's not the kind of game it is. But I feel like you've invoked gameplay that implies it is that kind of game. And that is, I think, where We Are OFK kind of trips over its own feet. Again, I would never slight it for not being a choice-driven game. However, when you are invoking choice-driven elements that don't end up mattering, it makes me wonder, like, I feel like they didn't use like, to your point, like, I personally wouldn't go as far as say that's not a game because I've played games that are just like this. And I'm like, I think that's, maybe it's just not a good game. But I will say, like, I don't think they utilized the video game medium in a way that was as effective as they could have, because it doesn't feel like they did anything that felt like it needed to be done within a game or that was enhanced because it was in a game. And I think that's where like my gameplay beef comes with this. But yeah, up until episode 2, I'm like, I'm cool with it. It is frustrating watching these people like be fucking shitty and whack, but like, that's life, Episode 3 is when I started to lose my mind, and I'm like, this is where it happens. Like, this is the turn. Like, I felt like Greg, like, and here's the thing between like you and I, like in our taste of games, especially this kind of genre where it's like we were so in the same that like when you were like, just wait, I knew I was doomed. But it was like, how will the reckoning come though? It's kind of like almost like if someone got like, they got food poisoning and you just ate the thing and you're like, I'm definitely probably gonna get sick as well because I see you throwing up in the bathroom and I ate this. I finished my bowl of soup 20 minutes ago and I'm about to be ill. That's episode 3. What happened with episode 3, and again, not getting into spoilers, is that's when they really got, I think, too into the tropes that they were invoking in a way that just felt very out of touch to me. There's a character that's kind of an antagonist sort of character. Everyone's like, yeah, this guy's a piece of shit. And he's like, here I am being a piece of shit. And then they could create this conflict of like, what do I do? Like with one of the characters, like, how do I move in my career? I don't want to do A, but like A offers security, but like, I don't really care about that. I want to do B. That's what I'm about. But then somehow at one point they're like, well, I've agreed to do A, even though I hate this decision. I've never had, like, I feel like there's such a better way to tell that story where there is conflict, because I think that is a very real conflict for people.
It just felt like such an unnatural choice for this character that I liked. Like that, like, I'm not going to name names, I guess, so we don't spoil stuff. Well, I guess actually by the time you get to episode 4, you would know pretty clearly who we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
But, like,
if you've been playing along, you would know, but
Like, there's parts of every character I like, but like this was probably my favorite character. And then they make a choice. I'm trying to be ambiguous and not give away who we're talking about. Not, use pronouns here. I'm using them to hide stuff. They make a choice where it's just like, I don't think you would make this choice.
Yes,
and it would be different if I made the choice or whatever, or you would lay the tracks that would make this. Why would you make this choice? It's like,
it's not believable at all. And not in the like, no one would choose this. It's just that like everything is going against his decision.
Every
like,
fiber of that person.
The character never says anything positive about making this decision. The person offering this like opportunity is a piece of shit. The person has said this person's a piece of shit. Like none of it makes any sense. And then so for like all this drama to be going down, that's why for me, like it wasn't believable, because the like sellout job guy was made extremely unlikable. Like there was no gray to like justify the decision, and that's why narratively it flopped for me at that moment, because I'm like, okay, what you had that was a strain to me, which is like levels of nuance, levels of, I think, relatability, interesting details that I think maybe also like speak to like larger societal importance stuff, like all the cool shit that happened. I'm like, okay, well, then you have like this really villain guy. Then it's like, oh, I ended up doing this thing that I've only ever complained about. And I'm like, this just doesn't, I'm not buying it. You should stop selling it. And then it was at that point where it's like, okay, 3 out of 5 episodes in, what do I do? Do I finish it? I'm like, I gotta finish it. I gotta finish it. Episode
and to
4,
the point again of like, it being, you called it out like a Netflix thing, right? But I think that was even before we talked about like, there's no thing. Like, I appreciate the kind of game it is, and the fact that when you pause it, it tells you how much time's remaining.
Yes.
And from the main menu, it tells you how much. And that was like such a cross to bear.
Like,
where episode 1's 52 minutes. Great. 55. All right. At 3, I'm like, oh, it's a 64-minute episode. Episode 4 is 62 minutes, and then episode 5 is 84 minutes.
I was up late just grinding away this thing. And like, you know, obviously we don't have all the time in the world. So like, to keep it short, episode 4, I liked it more than you did. I thought, but I agree with one of your critiques, which is that like a lot of these episodes do focus on kind of individual characters and storylines. And episode 4 was like, hey, that character that we barely have ever talked about, they're finally getting their moment, but it's like too little too late, man. Like this feels, if elements of the narrative structure felt a little sloppy to me and ham-fisted at parts. And that is like my big critique of this game overall. A game that is so focused on, it really is just you consuming the story. So when the story doesn't hit like that, you know, I can't recommend. And I do land on that like 3 out of 5 for me. Like it's an okay. I did think of bad as well because I don't think it's a good game and I don't recommend it. Yeah, it just doesn't. It was a bit of a bummer because I think it does have a lot of strengths, but it is a very mixed bag. And I think musically for me, I really only liked like 2 of the 5 songs. And one thing I had a beef with is
what did you have a beef with, Janet Garcia?
What did I have a beef with? The music videos, they were not good, bro. Like the first one was good. The first one I thought hit, because here's the thing. The setup was, I think, really nicely done in the first one. They do a really cool, like, trippy cut, especially too. I've played a lot of games that have elements of this. You know, there's The Artful Escape, which is very much a music game. There's Sayonara Wild Hearts, which is a music rhythm game. I've done the trippy shit, and I think in the first one they do it in a way that's fun. You know, you're picking up cats and tossing them down like a laundry chute or something. Like it's cute, it's playful. I was like, cool. Then it's like one of them's like, oh my god, the one that like broke me, I think, was in that episode 3 that I hated, where like the character that made this decision they hated all the whole time was like, I'm so broken up. And it was so literal. It was like, I'm a statue and the statue's shattered. I'm like, this is some not good art. I'm sorry. Like, this is like,
I find it all forgettable. Like, I think the ending is
heavy-handed.
like, the ending is very much like, again, like, I do not think the ending justifies the means, but I did enjoy the final episode, seeing it come together, which again is why I wish episode 5 was episode 3, and then I had 2 episodes of them fucking being the band.
Luca cannot sing. Episode 5, when Luca starts singing, I'm like, oh, this is, you need a lot of production on this track.
I really enjoyed the music video at the end of episode 5.
And maybe that was,
but it also is that like refreshing moment of like, we've done it, we're great.
There's also a really bad rap in this game in episode 2.
I don't remember
that was like kind of painful for me to hear, to be honest. And again, this is like a very mixed bag game. Like I think there are redeeming things and I can see why someone might enjoy it. But for me overall, like it just didn't hit. I was surprised though, talking to other people like you, Bless, some of my friends who ended up playing this game, that a lot of y'all like fell off much earlier and just like not being intrigued. Like for me, like I did like episode 1 too. But
episode 2
like,
is too much like episode 1, and that was the one I was like, wait, is every episode gonna be like this? And
I liked episode 1, so I was like, let's keep it. You know,
but again,
anyway.
I wanted to get going. I don't need the 4 members of this band to be in turmoil and be kind of mid people. It's like, all right, like none of you are.
Yeah, you know? And then it's just like, and there, like I said, there are some fire lines in this game. Like,
sure.
Again, it's funny because it's like, I don't even recommend the game, but in case you play it, I don't want to spoil like one of the lines in episode 5, but there are moments where I'm like, wow, they did some really good writing in here that feels real and like just hits really well. Like, again, I think there is a lot of good base points, but the whole of it just does not work because of like certain, I think, narrative choices they made, and in certain ways they've kind of leaned too much into the tropes where it's like, okay, there's nothing really for me to cling to want to do this. Yeah, again, don't want to get into spoilers, but there's some other things.
We don't want to spoil stuff. We said our piece.
Yeah,
we finally got to get out on the thing and say,
yes,
we do not recommend OFK,
also,
even
like,
though there's redeeming moments. And that's what sucks. Is that there's so many great parts. I love the art. I love the music.
This is part of the process. You know, it's funny. I was like playing this game, and like Isaiah's like, I feel like a lot of these story games you play, you like end up not liking, and it's like, how many of these do you like? Like, it's because I play a lot of them, and when you play a lot of them, you get. This is what being in this community is like. You get in the weeds, and you see, yes, like the narrative driven community, like. Yeah. For all the highs, there's going to be some lows, and you know, not everything. And that's what I like though about like having you here for this show, because it's like We Are OFK. I was like, I like messaged you. I'm like, is this going to be our Where the Heart Leads? And I like that element of being so heavy into this genre and being such a fan of this genre, because, and again, it's not to say like these games are like both of those games are completely duds, because they have redeeming elements, but it's like, who else am I going to talk to about these games? Like, they are more like niche titles, and it's not a genre for everybody. So it's fun to get to like talk in depth with you about like these little like story moments in games that otherwise, you know, maybe won't be the biggest conversation points in an overall year, but I think they are like generally important to talk about and check out because there are like redeeming elements and you get to know the genre like a bit more, what works, what doesn't. But yeah, for every lake, there's a We Are OFK. And again, We Are OFK is not like the worst game I've ever played, but it is weaker and I don't recommend it. While like Lake, I could see someone not liking that too, but like I love that game and I like want everyone to play it. I think it's super fucking fun. But yeah, that was but this is what I did it for. So we can have this moment.
Okay.
So we can have this moment, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, PS I Love You XOXO is all about moments. Thanks for joining us for this one. Remember, if you enjoyed this show, we put up PS I Love You XOXO, your PlayStation podcast, each and every Friday. You, of course, can get it early on patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames. Watch us record it live, just like our number one fan, Ryan Powala-Higgins. Of course, you get it ad-free. You get it with the post show. You could have a great old time, write in, be a producer, get all the benefits for the XCast, Gamescast, you name it, it's there. However, if you have no bucks to toss our way, no big deal. YouTube.com/KindaFunnyGames, RoosterTeeth.com, podcast services around the globe each and every week. If you're buying stuff on the Epic Game Store or maybe in Fortnite on your PlayStation 5, maybe inside Rumbleverse on your PlayStation 5, use the Epic creator code KindaFunny to support us. I do have breaking news for you. I just told you we post every Friday. Next week, PS I Love You XOXO is posting on Wednesday the 14th. So prepare yourself for a special episode and get in all your questions early for that there episode. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, it's been our pleasure to serve you.
Greg, I thought you were gonna say breaking news: the Queen has died, and it's like that's not breaking anymore, Greg. That happened.
No, that's still that broke
ago.
during Games Daily, Greg. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a great episode, and I totally credit with Blessing not being here. But we have gone long to the point that I have a meeting with Andy Cortez, and so what I'm doing is something unheard of, ladies and gentlemen. You're not getting a post show. I'm just gonna record a solo post show tomorrow. I'll come in and I'll talk about a PlayStation something tomorrow. So maybe I'll stick with the question here that I had picked from Gizmo. I gotta start reading these names ahead of time. I picked one from Gizmo here about OFK. Maybe I'll pick someone else. Maybe I'll put it in there, but I'll give you a one-on-one with Greg tomorrow, and I'll post it on Patreon for you. But thank you for understanding because we killed it, Janet. That was great.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, we got meetings. Bye.